Welcome to the EST Hangout.
This is the EST Hangout, and today's guests are...
A very good Wednesday morning to you. Welcome to the EST Hangout, presented by Sentinel Storage right here in Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Thank you to everyone for listening live on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, watching on YouTube, as well as listening to this podcast wherever you get your podcast. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola, Benny the intern, Jasmine Sidhu, Shawne Belle with you here. And I guess we'll just start with the breaking news of today, which is Elliot Friedman saying the Oilers and the Canucks have... working on a deal that would send Evander Kane to the Canucks. And Evander Kane with a long post on his Twitter where he announces that he is going to the Canucks, as well as his time with the Oilers is coming to a close. And now it's just waiting. What is this deal going to be? We'll get into that. By the way, the EST Hangout, as I said, presented by Sentinel Storage. Canada's storage experts, more than 2 decades helping Canadians through life transitions. Canadian storage provider. Be sure to buy Canadian. Gate, instant reaction. And then I'll read this comment from... Evander Kane.
Like the first one is, we told you on Hello Hockey multiple times and on Oil Stream that
1 year.
Yeah, for a year that this was going to happen. It did finally happen. I'll give Evander Kane credit for exiting an organization and a city on a high note. That's the first time I think he has in his entire career.
And Jazzy is currently ordering an Evander Kane Canucks jersey.
Are you actually?
No, my phone's going off right now.
Here's cap space. You get a problem out of the room. He goes to Vancouver. I'm laughing because they have nothing but problems in the room. And that's going to be a tough goal.
Exactly.
I didn't think of that.
Hey,
Yeah,
They
good point.
just had a big issue last season
it's
with all this.
not going to get any easier. I'll tell them that much. And I've got NHL PR guys texting me right now being like, oh, Vancouver, good luck. And now you got cap space, $5.125 million to kind of work with something more.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in. Rick Dollywall, who's out in Vancouver, Czech television with Don Taylor. You were on with them just a couple days ago or last week. He says this could be a draft pick going the other way. So this might be just a full salary dump for the Edmonton Oilers. He also adds there were 3 teams in on Kane. The Canucks are the ones that got him. And agent Dan Milstein has been working on the Kane trade since the final game of the Oilers season. But possibly just a draft pick going the other way, which for the Edmonton Oilers gives them a lot of flexibility. And just an added $5 million to go spend, as long as there's no retention of any sorts in this. Yeah, LeBron Kane has been traded to Canucks. His agent confirms. They're still waiting on the official trade call. And Kane goes back home to Vancouver, which was his preference. Belzy, I'll let you and Jasmine jump in.
Yeah, it's just all about cap space. And the Oilers need it because they have to get Bouchard locked in, whatever that looks like. And then they now have some room. And I think Bowman did allude to the fact that the forward group was going to look a little bit different next season. So this is the start of it.
Yeah, I'll expect him and Arvidsson. We're expecting for sure as 2 guys to be gone.
Yeah.
Jasmine?
So from my cousin's group chat, who are all Canucks fans, they are outraged. They do not want this at all.
Blame them.
Yeah. On a personal standpoint, I think, why would Kane want to leave like a superstar team?
I'll reiterate what I've been saying for a year and a bit now. They've grown tired of him.
Yeah.
And now we can just say it.
You've always told me that. I've always asked you, he brought in cakes for the team. I'm always like, I think he is like a team player, but learning to tell me not so much, right? Yeah.
So
Evander Kane is the best PR people around him.
Yeah, for sure.
He curates his image so very well, and I'll give all of them credit for something like that. The other thing, too, is like at least I think it's Evander Kane has a modified no trade clause, so he had a 16-team list. So the Oilers could have sent him anywhere as long as they found a team. Well, so here, clearly, it was they worked with Kane to be like, hey, we're moving on from you. You don't get a choice in this one. But we will give you a choice of kind of where would you like to go. And he jumped in on that process. But it's not like he had no choice almost. He had to go because the Oilers were going, we're moving on.
Right.
Didn't they almost move on from him this season?
They tried to.
Right? And he nixed the deal, right?
Yeah, Dave said that on Hello Hockey that
Dave Pagnardo, that is.
No movement clause.
But and then though March 1st, the no move clause switched to the 16 team modified no trade clause, and there were rumblings over the last couple of weeks that the Oilers did try to trade him at the deadline.
Yeah.
So they did try to move him at that point. So it was like, Kane comes back, whatever. All this happens. The question that Jay and I, Jay mostly posing on the Reed Wilkins show the last couple of days, and I think this has been posed in a lot of other places too, though. And jump in, Benny, too, on this. The one thing Evander Kane does provide is that physicality, is that being an asshole, for lack of a better term.
Perfect for Vancouver.
Who replaces
Frederick does. That's why they
But
have
is that enough? Is he that guy fully?
No, I don't think he is the guy that replaces it. Is it enough? I don't necessarily think so. Like, I think maybe having just one guy, so it's not just, okay, Frederick, you got to do all the heavy lifting. I think that's, we've seen that with Kane where he had to do all the heavy lifting. You don't want Darnell Nurse fighting when he's making 9.25. Like, you just don't. He plays in their top four, and you don't want top four D-men to be putting up, 5 to 10 fights a year. Like, that's just keep him on the ice. So Frederick, he becomes the guy. He's a muscle, quote unquote.
Some will say, though, he's never scored 20 goals, Trent Frederick.
Yeah, but you don't need him to score 20 goals. Well. But what you're looking for is you're now trying to add a few more pieces that you can spread out the scoring. So, yeah, Evander Kane scores his 20 goals, but can I get, 3 guys that can score 15 for me? That makes you a better team at the end of the day. Before
you jump in, Benny, Rashog doesn't sound like any salary was retained in this deal.
Good.
So this is sounding like a deal where I would expect nothing pick. Like, what do you have?
Apparently, Canucks were on his no trade clause. One of the teams, and then he moved off of. They asked him to move it off his no movement clause so that they could trade him there.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he could go home.
Yeah, Kane's contract was great value when he was healthy, though.
When healthy,
yeah,
and when playing his best, I think there were stretches where he was healthy where there was still okay, you need to see more from him. But yeah, when he was at his best, yeah, it's the $5 million was fair, or even cheap for him. Yeah, like Belsey said, I think with you want Frederick to fill in that role what Kane had, but it can't just be one guy that's gonna be the crap disturber. You think that they're probably going to bring back Perry, who can help out in that, but even then, he's getting a little older.
I will say, though, there was a report yesterday from Stoff, and to take that for what it is, he was saying Perry's camp may be looking for $2 million.
Oh.
Which would be too much.
You're not signing for $2 million. I'm sorry. At that point, if you're Jeff Jackson, Sam Bowman, that's one for sure. You'd be like, thanks for the time, all the best.
Well, I understand. I understand Perry's camp in that sense, because he almost scored 20 goals playing fourth line, basically.
And he was great in the playoffs.
He was great in the playoffs. He probably deserves $2 million. If you're the Oilers, though, you can't pay that. No. You can't pay that. So yeah, that's true. I think it's a collective. Like we saw with Florida, it's not just one guy that causes stuff on the ice. It's that whole team. That whole team. They have guys on every single line that will go in and muck it up. So if you're the Oilers, it's not just one guy that you need to replace Kane. It's whoever you bring in, you want some snarl. So, this makes sense for the Oilers. I don't expect a whole lot in return for him. I imagine
for Kane,
yeah,
it's a pick.
Yeah, I imagine it's a third-round pick or
salary
something. I can't imagine anything crazy.
I did throw it there. I'm not big on Demko coming to Edmonton because of the injury history, but I did say if it was Evander Kane for Demko, with the retained on Demko, I would have done that trade.
Yeah, but that wasn't happening.
No.
Vancouver would never do that trade.
I know, but that was the one. I would happily move on Kane. I would take Demko for that if I could, at a discounted rate.
I got a feeling
with Skinner. I'm not bringing in Demko and getting rid of Skinner because I think it's 41-41, and you don't know the health of a Demko. But this isn't. It's a pick, so we don't have to worry about.
I got a feeling from that goaltending position, Gibson might be the guy that they're going to swing at.
I know.
Because what else is out there?
Then why do you need to get any?
That's
because
the other part
if they go back with the exact same goaltending tandem, the pitchforks and everybody,
they
don't care.
Final twice.
You can't manage based on what the fans think, especially because the fans will be in the barn no matter what.
Listen,
the fans aren't going to walk away there and give in their season tickets.
At the end of the day, they weren't good enough. So we can say whether or not they went to the Stanley Cup final or not, they weren't good enough.
I agree.
And there's games where maybe you could have got a win if you got one extra save. So are we honestly going to sit here and be like, yeah, they're not going to take a swing at for a goaltender?
I'm not saying they're not going to take a swing, but I could see them not getting the home run or not getting the double that they're looking for and not wanting to.
You just think they're going to try to go for a single?
Well, no, I think that in the end they might just, if that single is Skinner and Pickard, I think they would do that because let's say Gibson, like it's reported once here, but what if the price is too high and the Oilers don't get that done?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to give up 2 firsts for him.
But it's Gibson. Okay, there's Demko. Who else is the goal?
UFA list is dog crap.
Merzlikins is out there,
Awful.
but I feel like that's a lateral
awful.
move.
Why not wait?
Jake Allen's a lateral move.
Awful.
It's one that's why, like, I agree with you. I think they will try for John Gibson.
Yeah.
But I could also sit there and say, like, while there are reports Gibson would be willing to maybe waive to come to Edmonton, what if after maybe he sits there and says, you want to know something? Joel Quenneville's the coach here. We've made some nice moves. Let's see what free agency looks like for us. And if the Ducks make some nice moves, you want to know something? Do I really want to leave Anaheim? And then what do you do if you're the Oilers? Like that's why I think they're going to go try swinging, but I could also see that a home run isn't coming, and they may have to come back and go Skinner and Pickard are our guys. That's all I'm saying on that one.
Yeah,
I move during the season.
I'm not gonna argue with either of you on those points. I'm just saying, like, based on what you looked at, like, unfortunately, it wasn't good enough, the goaltending. And that's on me sitting here being like, I think that Stuart Skinner or Picks are the worst goaltenders in the world. The reality of the situation is they weren't good enough this year, and they needed saves at times when that could have been the difference. So
I don't disagree with that.
Puckpedia.
What that looks like. Because the only way you're going to go after Gibson, for example, would be if he retains salary. If the Ducks retain salary. And so what does that
what's
cost?
his price?
6.5.
Is it 6? Okay.
I just think we need to move past Gibson here. Like, I think we need to get off this.
I think the reason that Gibson's
I'm with
out
you.
there so much is because he's probably the most realistic target based on the fact that it's the Ducks. They're on their upswing. A lot of other goaltenders are locked in. That's why
And he's
Gibson
been
becomes
tied to Edmonton for like 4 years,
Yeah.
hasn't he?
and that's why he's
Rumors
become
for
such a
how many
realist,
years?
like a
But
conversation piece,
people
right?
saying Gibson that are fans and media doesn't make it more realistic if the teams aren't talking about John
That's a
Gibson.
great point.
That's fair.
That's a great point. The Canucks have all their picks this year, by the way. Or they have a pick in each round, whether it's theirs or not. I'm not diving fully into that. Because who did I see? I know Pags did say trade. Draft pick for Kane. Rick Dollawall says sounds like a mid-round pick going to the Oilers. So looking 3, 4, 5-ish. Something like that coming to the Oilers, which honestly, that's not what the Oilers are getting in this deal. They're getting the cap space.
Yeah.
That's the deal. It's the Oilers. They're getting a pick, whatever. The Oilers are trading Evander Kane for cap space. Which, if you look, I'm going to go based on Puckpedia. Do they have Evander Kane off this roster yet? They do not. So they had a projected cap space of just shy of $12 million. You could add the 5.13. It will take them up to $17 million. Take 4 away potentially for Trent Frederick. That takes you down to $13 million. Take potentially 10 away from Bouchard. And that takes you to $3 million. So the Victor Arvidsson is on deck for that deal.
Yeah.
4th round pick.
Yeah.
Who has it? LeBron says
There
a
you
4th
go.
round pick for Evander Kane. So there's your deal.
So you got to basically go, like, with the amount of money that the Oilers have, you got to go a bit of the bargain shopping, Cody Glass type person. Well, actually, we talked about it offline. Clem Costin, would you ever take him back?
No.
Is he a free agent?
I think people are just
They just
enamored
waived him.
with him, and it's.
Just because of that one playoff run?
Yeah.
I don't think.
How many goals did he have in that playoff run?
They had like 3, but like it was more like.
But they were like big
was
goals.
timely
He had like some
goals,
big
yeah.
hits. He was kind of like the Furland.
yeah.
Remember Michael
Yeah.
Furland back in, like, when
Yeah.
they played
Calgary.
when they played Calgary? And he was with Calgary and they played Vancouver.
yeah.
And he just
I'll
ran
be
their
honest
show.
with you, this is just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Like I'm always baffled by Oilers fans, us in the media, trying to retread guys who had like a small glimmer of a good window.
Yeah, but
here.
that's what we do here in Edmonton.
It's ridiculous.
We want to
sometimes.
recycle.
It's awful. Like I
We're
saw
actually
somebody
just saving the earth.
Somebody texted in yesterday, Vinny Desharnais.
My goodness.
Let's go.
That's not real.
But it's almost the same as people bringing up Klim Kostin.
Yeah.
I would not go down that road.
Woof.
Clem's close with Sonny too, right? With Sonny Brar.
What
Or
does
their
that have
boys.
to do with anything?
No, I'm just saying that he probably is like pretty tight with where he was tight with, a lot of team members.
Yeah, but that doesn't
Friendly
mean
guy.
he's going
I agree with
become
you.
an Edmonton Oiler.
I 100% agree with you. I also agree with like new energy sort of stuff. And you're right. They always want to like recycle players, or it's always an idea.
I
you
find
can't
it
do
odd.
that. You can't bring in old energy. It doesn't work like that. It becomes stale.
Well, there was like for a while it was Taylor Hall. Let's bring him back. For
They
a while.
almost
Exactly.
did, though.
There was Eberle.
Like,
Bring
it's
him
insane.
back for a while.
I had time for the Eberle one, actually, because that was like a deadline deal move.
Yeah.
And then he was going to be a free agent, and I didn't have
Yeah.
time for that. I did have time for that. Also, the idea of Adam Larson, I did have a little bit of time
He
for.
would never come
Yeah.
back.
No, but there was the idea like, well, do you go get him? But yeah, here's the question. Okay, so here's the one thing though is how much youth do you have to look at from within the Oilers organization are going to be the guys for next year? And I look at a Max Jones, I look at a Noah Philp, I look at a Matt Savoy. How much are the Oilers going to have to bank on those guys slotting in as in their top 12 for next year with where they are in the cap situation?
I think Savoy gets lots of runway because obviously they traded McLeod for him. He was an all-star, so he had a great season in the minors. I don't think Max Jones gets a ton of time. I think he probably becomes the 14th or 15th forward. If
fair.
anything, maybe he's that veteran presence down on the farm and he moves up and down.
Could he fight going into camp for a 12th spot?
He'd be like Lane Peterson and
He'd be like
Seth
Brad Malone.
Griffith
He'd be
and Brad
Bugsy.
Malone. Yeah, that's a great way to describe it.
That's what his role will be with the organization.
Okay.
So he's a guy that's going to be on the farm, but at the same time, he might be up with significant stretches.
Who's the other guy? And before, because then Philp did anything with Philp? Can you look at Philp as a guy?
I feel like Philp, that his time was now.
Yeah.
It was this season. And they gave him a couple shots. And unfortunately, and this is just my opinion, I don't think he did anything to grab it fully. And I know it sounds really crazy because what did he get? Like 5 games or something like that?
I think it got
He had more than that. He got
10 or
stretched.
11.
Maybe 10 or 11, but like
yeah.
he didn't really truly get a full opportunity, but he got 4th line minutes.
Yeah.
And like you have to do something to supplant whoever the guy is there with those 4th line minutes to be like, hey, you got to be here.
He was better than Derek Ryan. I'll say that.
But that's like, are they good enough though to fill out your roster if you want to go spend a little more on your wingers up in the top 9? Are you going to be
maybe.
Are you going to have to rely? Just go with? Well, you want to know something? Let's just go with Noah Philp. Let's just go with Max Jones, maybe to a degree. Get to the trade deadline and go make our moves.
That could be a strategy because they've kind of done that the last couple of years. Then you fill out your roster with legitimate NHLers, which is obviously the key to getting deep into the Stanley Cup run.
Or they step up. Just throw that out there. Like they might step up and you don't have to replace them.
Right.
Just,
But there's enough guys that are 26, 27-year-old veteran players that have played in the league for a long time that would make, just north
mill?
of league minimum.
okay.
Right? There's enough guys out there. So you go after a few of those guys, then,
yeah.
that helps at the end of the day. I mean, if you,
Cup contenders don't have AHL and tweeners.
Yeah.
AHL
That's
guys.
the
No,
biggest
exactly. Bonafide NHLers everywhere in their lineup, and obviously like opening day, you don't need that full lineup. But like we're saying, deadline. I don't think I think Max Jones. I think there's a problem if Max Jones is in your starting 12 to start the year, barring injury or him just having a ridiculously good preseason. Like to me, like you guys are saying, like he's a Brad Malone kind of like tweener guy. Like if you get injuries, you can step in.
Yeah.
But for the most part, ideally you want him starting in the minors. And I think Noah Philp as a 4th line center can do all right, but I'm also kind of off that train a little bit. Like,
I wouldn't
don't
give
know.
up on him.
I wouldn't give. I'm not willing to say he's never going to play in the NHL, but
He was a Golden Bear. Don't forget.
Was he?
Really? No way.
No
Just
way.
want you guys to know
Oh,
that.
okay. I gotta search that up. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The Gadjevich is 26. He made $775.
But sorry, Reed was the first one to point that one out.
Oh,
everyone out there just want to make sure.
Oh, yeah.
No one else.
Of course, Reed was.
Yeah, it's all Reed.
And then you got AJ Greer, 850. So if you look, if the NHL is a copycat league,
Yeah. Well,
you got to look at what the Panthers have done and how they allocate their dollars. Now, obviously, it's a different situation with Edmonton because they have McDavid, Draisaitl. But the way that they allocate it, your fourth line needs to be a mil or under, and they have to be guys that can produce.
okay, and that was why like I look at like a Savoy or a Philp and a Jones and just go their cheap contracts. Is that
Yeah.
a way you fill that out?
No.
I think Savoy you can. I think
Savoy's gonna get that chance,
Yeah,
yes.
if you get enough, like you hope if you give him enough runway, and like with him though too, he's not a guy that's a fourth line guy. Like you need to give him some guys to play with. Like I'm not saying you have to stick him right next to Leo or Connor first thing right
would.
away. I would too, but you got to give him some skill guys to work with.
Pierre LeBrun, Oilers Canucks trade call on Kane trade expected within the hour. For those just tuning in, the Edmonton Oilers have traded Evander Kane to the Canucks. It is official because Evander Kane posted a tweet on it. I will actually pull that up to read it here. Because Tommy said at the start, very classy from him on that part. For a fourth round pick, no cap retained. Evander Kane tweeting, quote, as my time with the Edmonton Oilers has now come to a close, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank the entire organization, my teammates, and the incredible community of Edmonton, to Oilers ownership, front office, coaching staff, and trainers. Thank you for believing me and giving me the opportunity to be part of such a respected and passionate franchise. Your support meant everything, and I've always been grateful for the chance to compete in the blue and orange. To my teammates, thank you for the battles, the friendships, and the memories. I'll always remember the playoff runs, the highs and lows, and the pride of going to war with a special group of guys. To the fans, thank you for embracing me and showing unwavering support throughout my time in Edmonton. Rogers Place was always electric, and I'm proud to have played in front of such a passionate hockey city. My family and I have built some incredible relationships that will last forever. With that said, I'm incredibly excited for the next chapter of my career as I join the Canucks. It's an honor to become part of an organization and team I grew up watching as a kid. Vancouver is a city that lives and breathes hockey. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to play in front of my hometown as I did many years ago as a Vancouver Giant. With appreciation, Evander Kane. And then he has 4 pictures. One with him laughing with Matthias Ekholm on the ice. One him, I'm assuming, scoring a goal, but celebrating. Him with, is it Cecily, right?
Yep.
Sicily. Yeah.
Sicily, thank you, sorry, and a bunch of other kids. And then him about to take on the ice.
Cactus Club shares just went up 15%. It's a bougie joke, okay?
Oh, man.
Just everybody goes to Cactus in Vancouver. Get with it, all right?
You would know because you go to a lot of games.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
Why is everyone giggling?
I know why I'm giggling.
The only thing I was going to say before you went into that post there, just with the Savoy stuff, like one of my biggest pet peeves, I think, is when teams bring up AHL skill guys,
Yeah.
and they strap them to the fourth line, and then they go, "Why isn't he producing?"
Like he did in the American Hockey League
yeah.
when he was playing
You're
first
like,
line, second
well,
line.
I don't know, like because maybe the guy was playing first line, second line with skill guys, and now you're going to saddle him next to a meathead.
So is that why, like, if you're bringing up Matt Savoy, he has to be in your top?
I think he's got to be in top 9 minimum.
I like top 9.
but I would put him next
put him
to
on third line.
Yeah.
I would put him next to Dry and say, let's see what you can do for 10 games.
Yeah.
If you can't figure it out in 10 games, then you know what? Maybe we'll put you down on the third line. But you got to like. The guy's an AHL All-Star and he puts up points. That's what he is. If you expect him to go in and grind, well, then we're all sitting here being like, this was a dumb move.
Ryan Holt, their play-by-play man down in Bakersfield, said that the challenge, and I think Keith Gretzky came on and told us about Savoy too. The challenge from the coaches and management and the Oilers organization for Savoy was to get better defensively.
Yep.
And he worked on that. I think he was on PK.
Yeah.
Like, so he's taking those steps towards becoming a responsible NHLer. Now, there's going to be bumps along the way. Belzy, you went through it. Like, it's not easy, but if you're going to have space for 1 or 2 younger guys that are trying to establish themselves at the NHL level, like Savoy has to be one of them.
Yep.
And then I have time for Philp. Maybe things have changed and they don't think that in the organization anymore. I'd have to ask. But then you got to keep in mind you have that David Tomasek who's on a one-way.
Yep.
for whatever reason.
Szymanski, his
Yeah, but
guy
he's
that's
gonna
coming,
play
but he's
in the
probably an
minors.
AHL guy,
German
but
kid, yeah.
he's got some upside. You've got was it Hughes? No, who's the kid that they signed?
Hudson.
Hudson, that's right.
Yeah.
What does he look like? He's probably going to be in the minors too, but I mean,
That's
what
right.
does he look like? He's a skill guy. There is, the cupboards aren't completely bare. There's a few guys here and there, but
Yeah, who is the
They gotta
first
hit
rounder
on-
they picked?
O'Reilly,
Was that O'Reilly?
can he make the jump to the NHL
He's
without?
only 19 though.
He
had
can
a
play.
really
He can
good
play. He can
camp.
play in the NHL, but he can't play in the
Right.
minors. So he's either playing the
Which
show
I find
or he's
so weird. I think there's got to be like a certain number of players each team gets over a period of time that you could be like, here's an exemption. We want to put them in the American Hockey League. They're not ready for the NHL, but we think they're overgrown junior hockey. We need to throw them back.
That's now where the NCAA comes in.
Good point.
So if that's the case, then you could sit there as the Edmonton Oilers and say, "Okay, I want you to go play in the NCAA."
Which he could.
He could.
With
season
if he has a
himself.
contract,
Yep.
even if he has an NHL contract.
Yep.
Yeah, because remember, like, you were ineligible once you played major junior because it was considered like pro
Yeah.
in the NCAA.
Even though
size.
$60 every 2 weeks is not
Yeah,
making
exactly.
money, but anyway, that's
Yeah.
fine.
But now that's changed. But that is true.
But I would, if I'm the Oilers or if I'm an NHL, I want to help my farm system too because I'm trying to win down there too a little bit.
Yeah, but he can't play at 19.
Well, that's why I'm saying that I wish they change the rules a little bit. That maybe
Fair.
like if you have a first round pick once every 5 years, or once you use it, you can't do it again for 5 years. You could take a player and be like, they're not good enough for the NHL yet. We don't want them playing down there. We want them in our system. We're putting them in the American Hockey League.
Send him to Europe.
But I want them. I want my people with him. I want my coaches. I want my development.
Yeah,
I, want my
I know
organization.
where you're coming
I want
from,
this-
but
and I just to me, it's like Leon.
It's just never happening.
I know, but like Leon comes up, plays in the NHL. It's not going. He goes back to Kelowna. And I'm like, well, wouldn't it have been cool? Like, doesn't it feel like it might be better if he goes middle of that? Like, goes right into the AHL? Worked out very well for Leon, I would say.
Yep.
Well, because
There's
he
something-
did have a stint in the AHL for a bit, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He was. I think he even had a look in Oklahoma and then started fifth.
But that was
15,
after his
16.
first year.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's like
Yeah.
he came up, he played 20 some games because they burned a year.
Yes.
Yeah, and then he got sent back
Sent
down.
back, got traded to Kelowna.
Yep.
Played there. The next year started in the American Hockey League, or maybe started a couple games and
Yes.
then got
Yeah.
sent
It was
down.
only like a week or two.
then got brought up
Yeah.
and he took off.
Yeah.
And there was no sending him down after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something to be said about the confidence, right? Like I think that's why if you don't make the show, you just go back to junior, and so then you can dominate the league, you can be full of confidence, and then you go from there. And because the worst thing that happens to a lot of players is they go play in the American Hockey League, and it's such a big difference from junior to pro, and then they don't have that confidence, or that coach doesn't trust them because he's a new guy or whatever. They have their favorite veterans. And you just get into a situation where it's like, okay, well, I'm playing my third or fourth line minutes. I'm not getting a ton of ice time. And then you start to lose that confidence. Then it's bye-bye in a hurry.
Yeah.
So there is something to be said about, okay, well, you can't play here. Well, you're going to go back to junior and you're going to just completely dominate. And then let's see what happens the following year.
But then didn't they have something for Shane Wright? There was something with Shane Wright where he went to go play junior, but then they allowed him to play in the AHL, I think, or something. There was something along the lines.
That's how that rings a bell.
I'm gonna do some.
Yeah,
Look it up.
before you do that, throw up the graphic for the ranch, because this is Hangout Headlines brought to you by the Ranch Golf and Country Club. Premier conditions, top-notch service, unmatched value. Book your tee time today by visiting theranchgolf.com. Proud home to the EST Golf Classic presented by Play Alberta in less than 2 weeks now. July 8th, we'll be taking over that course with the EST Golf Classic. I'm going to set you up for this, Tommy. Huncho says, I hope we still trade Arvidsson. And when it comes to Arvidsson, what's this... We're going like both sides ready to move on.
Yeah. There was someone told me, a couple people told me during the season, late in the year, that he was open to a trade even back then. And Belsey and I talked about it, and we were like, "Do we bring it up on Hello Hockey?" No, we left it.
Yep.
And then now it's come to light, which is good. It wasn't a good fit. I mean, when you're healthy scratching him, he missed that 15-game segment, couldn't really find a niche for himself in the lineup. And it sounded like he was frustrated. I mean, that one interview where they finally put him in, I think it was early in the Cup final, he was pissed off. And I'm like, I like fiery Victor Arvidsson, but it shouldn't have been at that point. So yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna move on. It's just on the table already, but yeah, this is not a surprise
So expect a deal done with Victor Arvidsson. So I found the Shane Wright thing.
Yeah.
Following 5 straight games of the healthy scratch, Kraken exploited a loophole in the league rules to send him to the AHL on a conditioning stint.
Yeah.
So this bypass requirement would have to return to the major juniors. He was there, went to the World Junior team, and then he returned to the OHL following the World Juniors.
Yeah, so he
got a few games at
conditioning
Coachella.
stint.
Yeah.
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 So he's an NHLer, but now he was hurt, I think, at some point, right?
Well, they called him a healthy scratch, and then they probably went, whatever. Got him to the AHL for a little bit.
Yeah.
Sent him to the World Juniors, and then sent him to the
I think
OHL.
he could only play 10 games on a conditioning stint.
I thought, 2 weeks or something
Yeah.
like that.
That would sound
Something-
about right
yeah,
then,
it's-
working out, like in terms of a schedule from NHL to AHL to World Juniors to OHL.
Yeah, because he only played
4
8
different
games
things
in
playing in
he
like
played
a couple months.
8
It's ridiculous.
games in the NHL that year, 8 games in the A, and then he played 20 in the OHL, plus the World Juniors.
I like this text. Jazzy must be ecstatic that Kane was traded to her second favorite team.
There's so many.
What is the reaction? You said that people were mad?
Yeah,
Like
I'm
your
getting
family?
like my phone is really blowing up with my Canucks cousins who are saying that the Canucks radio is losing it right now as well. They're basically calling Kane rinsed, toxic. They're saying he's slow and cocky. He had 2 surgeries. And obviously bringing up the whole Miller Pedersen debacle that went on.
Yeah.
And like, how is that addition of Kane going to really help the locker room? And that management has lost it.
Well, he instantly becomes their best player, so deal with that.
From the locker room perspective, he's always great for the first couple of years. He always is. He's fine in that locker room for the first season or two. Like,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
on his best behavior for like completely in those first years. So 1 year before you're free agent, he's got to go earn a contract.
Yep.
I think they're going to get the best of Evander Kane possibly in many ways. So I think from that perspective, I could argue against that and in favor of the Canucks management. Everything else Jasmine said there, I could actually see from an outside perspective of, yeah, he's battled some injuries. Yeah, he's had these surgeries. What type of damaged goods are we getting if I'm a Canucks fan? Like, I could see that argument
Your
from
best
outside
player.
this market. I know, but if he's healthy, if he's playing, but is he going to be playing? Like, I can see why Canucks fans or media would say that right now from the outside looking in, where they look at this guy and go, okay, how many NHL regular season games has this guy played the last couple of years?
0 last
Yeah.
year, obviously, but
And how many surgeries has he had? And
Multiple.
We're paying how much for him?
5.125.
Right, like I
So
can see that.
They gave up not much in the 4th rounder. They lose 5.125 of cap space. They're going to lose Besser, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, Matty makes a very good point that Kane will probably be on his best behavior because it's crazy how motivated guys in the last year of their contracts can be. And he was a good soldier for the first year as an Oiler, and then things started to unravel behind the scenes. They might be okay. And Bellsy, you know what's sad? You might also be right that he could be their best player as of right now.
But what are they
I
trying to
believe-
accomplish next year? Like, we might be talking about a Quinn Hughes being gone in the next couple of weeks.
Legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the Vancouver Canucks doing right now? Is it rebuild mode for the
Yeah,
Vancouver
They're
Canucks?
trying to find
Yeah.
a way to get back to the playoffs because they got to try to convince Quinn Hughes that they're on the right track.
But if Quinn Hughes is saying, I'm gone, like, I just want to go with my brother, and they're trading him the next couple of weeks, that's my point. Like, what are they then trying to accomplish?
Okay,
You're screwed.
I want to play with my brothers. Are they
Are you
coming
saying
to
the
you?
Canucks trying to grab him?
I could see that too.
Well, they're Americans. I don't think they're coming to Canada. It's pretty
Here's a
rare.
quick question
Trent
for you.
Frederick would be is kind of almost an outlier of
Yeah.
that American who's going to sign long term.
Would you rather
Brady
play-
Tkachuk as well? I guess I should.
Would you rather play in Vancouver or would you rather play in New Jersey?
New Jersey, because New York's right there.
That is true.
I wouldn't want to play in
I'll-
that dump.
I'm living in New York.
Well, Newark, but I'm scary. But
This is
I'm
true.
living in New York.
Yeah, as much as New York is just down the
I'm
road,
coming
you
to
still
New York
got
for the
you still
games
got
and
to
for
put
practice,
roots
but
in
I'm
New
going
Jersey.
there.
But
No, you
like
don't.
Secaucus,
Put me in New-
Hoboken, New Jersey
Woof.
City, they're all really nice. Newark, it looks like a demilitarized zone.
How
Yeah,
long
it
is the-
does.
It's awful.
Yeah, it is really
How long
bad.
is the subway from New York to Newark?
It took me 15 minutes door to door from my old cameraman Blaine Sayers' place in Jersey City.
Oh, Blaine.
Blainer, yeah, he's
yeah.
with the Bruins now.
Yeah.
To World Trade Center. 15 minutes, door to door. Lock in his door. Hit
Car, train.
No,
Train.
train.
Yeah.
You get this like perfect. You go live in New York and you play for the Devils. It's easily like, and Vancouver's a beautiful city. I don't want to disrespect Vancouver because it is a world class international city.
Yeah, it is.
But as an American, I'm taking New York because I'm moving to New York over Vancouver.
Yeah, I'm going to give you that.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
I'll give you that. But
And there
don't
are-
discount living in Vancouver, the city of Vancouver.
Wait, you would say that?
I'm just saying,
kidding.
if you are rich, because I make fun of the Lower Mainland all the time, but if you are actually living in downtown Vancouver
Amazing.
in a penthouse that Kane will probably do, it is amazing. The views, the food scene, everything is amazing there, but you have to be rich. Just
And
saying.
which these
Yeah.
guys are, but then that's like as an American,
Yeah.
is it Vancouver or is it New York?
Yeah, that's a
it's
good
not
point.
New Jersey.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to. It's not because if it's New Jersey, Vancouver, I'm with you. It's Vancouver all the way, but it's
Then you
not
have
New
ferry
Jersey
and stuff. Yeah.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
New York.
Yeah.
or some nice suburb or near New York or something.
Well, that's where they all live. Is
Yeah.
Secaucus,
Okay.
Hoboken.
That's where
Jersey
you're going.
City. Yeah. If you stay in Newark, it's look how that's a scary, scary place.
I also think it's just so much easier if Quinn goes the other way instead of Luke and Jack
Trying to get both.
going to Vancouver. Like Quinn's nearing the end of his contract too. Like it would just make so much sense for Vancouver to move off him to try to get something. But at the same time though, like Jim Rutherford kind of put their backs against the wall with admitting that that's a possibility. And like so if New Jersey sends him a call or gives him a call saying, hey, what's Quinn Hughes worth? Like they know that like Jim Rutherford's gonna have to kind of like give up on him at some point. They're not gonna let him walk for nothing.
And so he's got 2 more years in Vancouver.
Yeah.
So they got some time
they
on
got
this if they
some
want
time,
to.
yeah.
But at the same time, the value you can get for him with 2 years left versus 1 year at it is a lot more.
My buddy just came up with a great point, by the way. He said this is essentially a Kane for Podkolzin deal.
Oh yeah,
It's the same pick that was used.
yeah.
That's what I saw in the Nasty chat.
that
Oh, Nasty was saying that. Yeah.
Well, Podkolzin will be in the lineup every night at least. So there's that.
Kane will be too.
Yes, for Vancouver.
But the savings, the cap is part of that. Like that is so if you balance that out,
Both top 6 wingers. So what's that?
what's put Colson
well,
make?
listen. Whoa.
I just wanted to get that one back in.
Oh, you. Stretching it.
Pod Colson is 1 million, so you're saving 4.1
Yep.
in that deal. So it's 4.1 million in cap space and Pod Colson for Evander Kane, and an extra year of Pod Colson for this year.
You take it.
As the Oilers, I think it's a great move.
Yep.
Do you think the Oilers could get Brock Besser here? Think about the hockey IQ with like McDavid and Leon,
That would be a good one.
right?
There's another top 6 winger and a right shot guy, and makes your right side better. Or does he play left?
He plays right.
Plays right, yeah.
I just think he'll go get paid.
Yeah, what's he gonna make?
I think with the cap going up, I wouldn't be shocked if he gets 8.5, 9.
And wasn't that the hang up when it became known, or when Patrick Alvin was like, if you saw the offers, you wouldn't trade him either?
Oh,
And then-
the trade?
Yeah, and then they were talking about the money.
Yeah.
Didn't he want?
Yeah,
His
I think
bag.
I think he wanted 8+. I think he wanted like an 8x8 type thing, and then
wouldn't do it?
But no team was willing to pay a first-round pick from the deadline, which that's kind of surprising to me. I thought a team would.
Now, he had blood clot.
He's been injured
issues
quite a
couple
bit.
years.
That's
So
right.
That's scary.
Yeah,
The Oilers, just for clarity, Ottawa's 2025 4th round pick is coming to the Oilers.
yeah.
So it's a this year pick. The Oilers will have a 4th round pick, so they'll have a 3rd, 4th, 6th, 7th now this year in the draft.
Nice.
At this moment, as draft gets going on Friday.
Yeah, so that pick is 117 in this year's draft. The Oilers originally acquired that pick from Ottawa for Bargot and then
Yeah.
flipped
That
it
was
for
that deal.
Podkolzin. And now they've reacquired that exact pick.
The trade tree might end there.
Yeah.
Penner's Pancakes. You would have to trade Arvidsson and Rico to make that work for Besser.
I just don't even think it works just because of Bouchard's contract.
Yeah.
Like, pulled it up. I took Kane, I took Henrique, and I took Arvidsson off the roster. I signed Frederick to a 4-year deal, a $4 million deal. I signed Bouchard to a $10 million deal. That was $10 million left on cap space. And you still got to go sign a Brown if you want, a Perry if you want. There was at least 4 forwards you still go need, and you only had $10 million.
Yeah.
I was confused by like the appetite to bring Kapanen back. There was some talk about that.
He's
What if it's like 900,000?
No. I want an improvement.
quite
for 900.
literally
Okay.
like he's not as tough as Gadjevich or he's not as tough as Greer, but like when we talk about your fourth line needs to be like slightly north of league minimum and have a guy that can produce, Kapanen is that
So
guy.
you like this idea?
I'm just saying, I'm not saying I like the idea. I'm just saying that would be the rationale as to why you bring him back, because he has produced enough to satisfy something slightly above league minimum.
Okay,
As
I'm
a
not-
fourth line right winger.
I'm not going to disagree with that, but I would definitely go and pursue better options with that in mind, trying
Yeah.
to find them at a
Yeah.
just above league average. And if you explore all those options, you exhaust them, and nothing comes up that's better,
Yeah.
then I'd circle back if he isn't signed, which I don't feel like.
Prez, by the way, we were never going to sign Mikko Rantanen, so just stop at that. one.
Okay, but they tried. Apparently, the reports were they tried at the deadline to get
Yeah,
him.
that's right.
What's trying?
buy that?
Okay,
What's
okay.
trying?
Okay, I'll
What's
say this,
trying
okay.
in your
I was
world?
not around for the trade deadline.
Oh, right. Okay. Let's.
So I
let's
What's
just
trying in
remember
your world?
seeing.
Let's open this can of worms
I
because
had
we
to
got.
get berated for 45 minutes by a certain colleague of ours in the press box trying to like split hairs. So what happened was, yes, they were interested in him. Okay. And there was conversations. The Oilers would be willing to give him the type of contract he was looking for. That's fair. That all that was on the table. That happened. But once Edmonton called Carolina, said, we're interested in Rantanen, Carolina looked and said, what do you have to offer? The Oilers pointed out, we got this, this, and this. And then Carolina said, no, thank you. That's not good enough. It was over.
Okay, so the only thing I will say on that is if the Oilers felt that they could spend that money on Rantanen, could they? How do they like? Does that change what they can maybe how they would go approach this offseason? Like
I think this
a
is
Mitch
live.
Marner type thing. If they in their minds thought
then-
we could spend this much on Rantanen, in their minds would it still not be there? We could go spend this much on this. We just have to do all these other things.
You'd lose Evan Bouchard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I
Bronco Nick
I-
did have a way of keeping him for sure.
Right. I mean, he's been playing that same game Bronco Nick was a couple of months ago. He's like, look at this team, look at this roster I put together. On
I have
He
so
did.
much fun with it.
Yeah, I can tell you get giddy.
Okay, I quickly want to just throw this one out there. Bombers roster, no changes for the Elks tomorrow. Nick Dembski, a game time decision though. He was injured late in last week's game against BC. Brady Oliveira will not be playing. An Elks depth chart coming later today. Not expecting any changes. Report yesterday. Stan Bowman, Jeff Jackson are out in Ontario to speak with McDavid and his agent. To me, this just screams formalities. Like it screams more like they're not worried about the term. They're not worried about years or money. That's easy. 8 years is easy. The number is, okay, Connor, write down on paper what you want. Do you want to leave it? You write it down, and we'll just agree to that. It's all the other things behind the scenes that they just have to talk about, which is one
This
is
is the
roster
plan.
construction.
Yeah.
What's the plan for things, but also the business of Connor McDavid. You know, like how are we executing things and getting you endorsed, like those type of things. That to me, this is just okay. Cool. They're starting the process of there'll be a press conference in July where McDavid's sitting in the Hall of Fame room like there was with
Not smiling.
Leon last year. They'll sit there. I thank Daryl and his wife, and then the Cates family, and for allowing me to be here. Jeff, all of them. I'm excited to stay in Edmonton. We're leading to that.
Like I said to you before, if I was Daryl Cates, I would be picking up the phone and calling Connor McDavid and saying, Connor, can you sign the exact same deal as Leon Draisaitl? And on the back end, I will find you every endorsement deal possible to make up that money so that we have that much more space to go out and sign a big fish.
I'd be like this, Connor, are you staring at the $1 million boat I bought you for your wedding? Come back, baby.
I'd be like this, oops, drop the keys to that, bye.
He's not going to.
Stan and Jeff show up in a boat. Well, no, one comes in a boat, one comes in a car, and then the one on the boat is like, when he leaves the buying car's like, aren't you going on the boat? No, no.
That's yours.
Yeah, oh, no,
Jumping in with
that's
Stan.
yours.
I'm
Yeah.
jumping in with Stan.
Yeah.
I love that.
Would hate for that to happen.
I've lost my keys. I'm gonna have to jump into a stand.
Oh boy.
Find them. Let me know.
And just really quickly,
Oh, that's good.
Stan and Jeff like traveling to see Connor wherever he is, because Connor's got a few places. Jeff lives in Toronto still.
Yeah.
He just rents a place here. And Stan lives in Chicago still, just to clarify that.
Yeah, and you go to the player.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
always go to the player. You don't make
that's
be like, no, you come see us like that. You say you come see us to like the lower end players. You're not doing that to Connor.
Yeah, no. Too funny.
I've been seeing some people like even like local media saying that like it could be a 4-year deal though.
Yeah.
I think
To kind of put pressure on the Oilers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Frank
Yeah.
threw water on that yesterday.
And I think Spec said that yesterday.
If I was a
Yeah,
player, I'd
Frank-
be doing 4-year deals too, though.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I would not want to be with
I
the
wouldn't
cap
even
also
locked
shooting
into
up.
8. Yeah, no.
I don't want to get locked in where it's years 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm
Yep.
sitting there, oh, I'm missing out on some money. But I also understand the locking in and just not being worried, like heaven forbid injuries and type things like that. You just have your money
I
coming.
feel like Connor will have a job for life.
Yeah, I agree. I know Frank though, Valley yesterday, he said, I just don't see it happening. I don't see why it wouldn't be less than 8. Like, so
Yeah, I mean, NHL players they want the 8-year deal, right? Like, just tie them in and shut it down.
and I also don't know if you're Connor's camp why you have to put pressure on the Oilers. Cup final back-to-back years.
Yeah.
Like, let's be
Well,
real. They're
They
trying
want
to win. They're doing what they
changes.
can to
Yeah.
win.
Well,
And I don't think all of a sudden once they sign Connor an 8-year deal, they're going to put their feet up like, whoo, we're good.
yeah, I agree with you on that. But if you look at the two teams, could you argue that Florida got way better and Edmonton got marginally better? Or
They got marginally better.
Technically, based on the way that the finished, you actually got worse.
But that's not without trying. They made a lot of moves. They brought in Arvidsson. They brought in Skinner. They brought in Emberson, then Podkolzin and Wallman and Frederick. Like, they did actually attempt to do a lot. They didn't pan out, a lot of them. Some of them did pan out, though. The Panthers made moves, and more of them panned out than not. But it's not like they sat on their hands and went, we're just not going to do anything. Like, they did try, and they got back to a cup final, though. So I don't know what pressure you need for that if you're Connor McDavid. It's not like you're the Toronto Maple Leafs in one sense where you're Austin Matthews maybe, and you're sitting there going, well, we've gone past the first round once.
How many more years does Austin Matthews have on his deal?
3.
So probably 2 more because he's going to ask for a trade out of Leafland.
Well,
Kind of like, Marner wants out too because he hates that place.
well, the thing it'll be fast.
Yeah.
If you're Austin Matthews and you don't get past the first round the next 2 years,
I'd be gone.
it's hard at that point. And if you're the Leafs, you have to sit there and you have to go, are you going to resign or not? And if he's sitting there going, I honestly, I've been to the second round once or twice.
If
I'm
I
not
was
doing
Matthews, what I would do, because if you're playing in a place that's obviously trying to get to the Stanley Cup and they've made improvements, I would almost look at Montreal, the Canadiens, because by the time 2 years rolls around, Montreal is going to be in a spot where Toronto is with a way better roster construction. I would just be like, you know what? I'm going to go play for Toronto or for Montreal and then win it there.
He's going to the U.S. He's an American.
Oh, I know he's
leaves.
going to the U.S., but I'm fully saying it on purpose right
And
now.
again, pressured playing in front of Montreal, just like
It's the
they
same
get it
thing,
in the
yeah.
Leafs.
So, like, you'd rather play for, if you're going to stay in Canada, you'd rather play for Montreal, Ottawa, Winnipeg, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton than play for the Leafs. That's literally why Marner's leaving.
Yeah, screw the Leafs. I don't need to talk about them anymore. I think I've gone far enough with the Toronto Maple Leafs on that one. But that's what just went to the McDavid part. It's just, I still just go, I don't know what pressure he needs because they're doing it.
Why do you think I'm saying it?
They're attempting to do it. So that's why I'd be shocked. I'd actually be impressed with Connor if he actually signed a 4-year deal. Won't lie. Because it would be like, yeah, you're looking out for yourself a little bit here too. And I like that. But we'll see. If he signs 4, I think that number has to come in lower.
Well, it will. Like, greats have taken discounts, right? Crosby, Tom Brady.
Well,
They all want
he's taking a
championships.
discount too.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, from what he could get, and like, he'll get a discount. Like, he's not getting max dollars at 8 years. But whatever you'd give him on 8 years has to be less if it's a 4. If he's getting 16.5, let's say, on an 8-year deal, that's got to be more closer to 15, I would say, on a 4-year deal.
Yeah, agreed.
Because you're going to get your next contract's going to be pretty big too.
Yep.
I don't think money is necessarily a problem with McDavid. Granted, like, yes, you'll get all the sponsors on board to make up that money. 100%, all that stuff will happen. The guy just wants to win. He's literally like one of the players that just wants a trophy. It's not Evander Kane, who's going to probably have a good year in Vancouver because he is chasing the money.
Yeah, what's the expectation for Kane in Vancouver next year?
25 goals.
He's going to be real good.
I think if I'm the Canucks, I'm expecting 25.
Hungry for that next contract. One last big
That's
ticket
right.
before he's done.
Yeah.
Does anybody give it to him?
I don't know.
If he's pulling up 25
Edmonton.
or whatever.
3 years. He's coming back to Edmonton.
They're like the cap's going to shoot up again next offseason. Can't remember how much it's going up next year.
Was it
To
100?
95.
Yeah.
And then it
This
goes
year?
up to 104.
Yeah, 95
and then
this year, right?
113.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we're just going over that.
95, 105, 113. So it's going to go up another 10 next year.
Yeah.
Evander Kane does well. Somebody will give him 6 if he has that good of a season.
That would be the most he ever make.
That is, yeah.
Somebody will
Well,
do
he
it,
got
though.
7 in San Jose.
Yeah,
but-
that's right. He did. Yeah.
Yeah, but
But
that
somebody will
did
give it.
most.
If he has a good year, there is a GM out there that will sit there and go, I'm getting 10 million extra in cap space, all of this. Let's do it. NHL GMs love to throw money out there on
If-
July 1. Love to throw
That is
money
their
out there.
that's their favorite pastime.
If that happens, a word of caution to whichever GM decides to do that or owner that gives it the green light, don't give him more than a year. Keep him on his
Yeah.
toes. Keep him being a good soldier.
You know what he will get, though, if he has a good year in Vancouver?
What?
It'll be like 4x6 with the no move clause. 'Cause that's what NHL GMs love to
1,000%.
do.
Yeah.
And 2 years in, they'll be saying, we're buying you out, and then he's making money into his retirement.
Yeah, like that's just how it works. Like, and just part of it is it's just NHL GMs. They hand out no move clause, including here in Edmonton, and money and term and all that like it's candy. And I'll still go back to like Bradley Beal has the no trade clause with LeBron James in the NBA. That's it. There's 2 players, one being
hell's
Bradley
Bradley
Beal.
Beal?
Exactly. And it's putting the Suns where like they want to get rid of Bradley Beal, but they can't. In the NHL, I like no disrespect to him, but Georges Laraque got a no trade clause. That's a guy that didn't need a no trade clause. I'm sorry. Like, it's that when the NHL GMs just love to throw everything at the wall on July 1 to make sure they get the player.
That's true.
That is true.
So he'll get it. I stand by it if he has a good year.
Yeah.
This is the EST Hangout. Portions of this hour brought to you by the High Product Marketing, official merch partner of Edmonton Sports Talk, promotional products that bring the buzz. Check them out at highproductmarketing.com. EST also proudly presented by Play Alberta. Be sure to use those promo codes EST Sports, EST Casino. When you deposit 20 more, you'll get either a $50 free sports bet or a $50 casino bonus, or YEG Sports when you deposit 5 or more for a $50 free sports bet. Download the app or head to playalberta.ca. For those that are just tuning in that have missed it, Evander Kane traded from the Edmonton Oilers to the Vancouver Canucks. It is a 4th round pick that is coming back to the Edmonton Oilers, a pick that the Oilers initially had that they received from Ottawa in the Borgo deal that they sent to Vancouver for Podkolzin. Now they are getting that back. No salary retained. Pure LeBron quote, this tweet is coming out. It's not just making room for Evan Bouchard, raising from his expiring cap hit, but Leon is jumping up as well. So combined, the Oilers need another 10 to 12 million in cap space between those 2 players alone on this year's cap coming up. Kane trade helps that, but they will try to move Arvidsson as well.
I saw something that they're potentially trying to get Bush to do a 4-year deal as well.
Yes.
With lower AAV.
Yes. He's that smart. With, Nurse was bridged a couple of times and they got hit with the big deal. Is it smart to bridge Bouchard again?
I try to bridge Bouchard as long as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Because I get it. The man on offense is unbelievable. And I'll just leave it at that.
But he's a defender, Belsey.
Because I'm not getting down. I'm not going
But
down
he's a
that
defender,
path today.
Belsey.
But I'm just saying I'd try to bridge him.
But he's a defender. You forgot to talk about his defense.
And
Would you like to talk about his defense?
We need as much money possible to round out the roster to make it better so that they can win a Stanley Cup.
I'm sorry, you still haven't talked about the defense.
Oh, weird.
Hey, the Oilers have made it official. They've posted it. Acquired a 2025 fourth rounder from the Canucks in exchange for Evander Kane. So official now, as the Oilers have now posted it as well. Oh yeah, VR. I got to email you. Sorry. Trying to see if I'm missing anything in the nasty chat. There's a lot that has happened in the nasty chat.
I know.
So apologies to everyone in the nasty chat.
This is why I've been on the
There's a lot of turds in the punch bowl in the nasty chat right now.
A lot of guys really like
A lot of trolls.
A lot of little
Weird
Welcome.
text coming in too.
Please hit the like.
Yeah, you little turds in the punch bowl. Just make sure you at least hit the like before.
Hey, I don't know if you saw it, Matt, but Lieutenant Eric also posted it as well.
Eric, I
the
thought
Oilers
broke
deal?
it.
Yeah.
That was
Eric did. Well, let me see what Eric posted. I'm sorry. I need to give
Eric's all
some
over.
credit. Lieutenant Eric. He did have 45 minutes ago. Edmonton Oilers are trading Evander Kane to the
Yeah.
No better. These are insider. Big Uke, I'd be interested to see a 4-year bridge and what the number is. C-Run, it is smart because hopefully you can trade Nurse after Bouchard's bridge.
Delulu.
Jazzy's right.
I struggle with the Nurse trade as much as other fans want it, just because of how close he is with Leon and Connor.
Yeah.
And I know people say, well, you got to put your personal feelings aside, all that stuff. But I also understand, you also have to, everyone's also scared that they're just going to run away and sign somewhere else. So you can't have both ways in this. I think the Oilers want to keep those two happy, and they like what they get from Darnell Nurse, and they're not breaking that up. Like, again, look at Connor's wedding. Who's in his wedding party?
The Darnell, Nuge, Leon.
Was Nuge in it? I don't think Nuge was.
Or was
it was
but
Darnell
he's
and
part
Leon.
of the clique, though.
Yeah, but it was Darnell and Leon.
Yeah, but Holloway and Broberg were there too.
Not in
whole
the wedding
team was
party.
there.
Not in the wedding
wedding
party, but they were
party, yeah.
invited to the wedding.
But I'm talking about the wedding party. Like, you're not breaking up
The
that part.
besties, yeah.
Like, that's why I will always struggle with the Oilers possibly going to trade from Darnell Nurse, because now you've got to first get the approval. Well, of Darnell, you need his approval, but you also need the approval of. Wait, does he have no trade clause?
Was that Darnell?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You got to get the approval of Leon and Connor.
You do.
You got to keep them happy in that sense, and that's the thing about having superstars is you got to deal with that. I don't know if they're going to be like, yeah, we sign off on that. type
Legit.
thing.
I think that's why they're also in Ontario right now. This is part of the discussion that, McDavid's agent is probably like, yo, you got to keep Darnell happy.
You got to find a way to not be the oldest team in the league, and you got to be faster. And there's got to be a little bit more bite. Here's a question for you guys. Do you think, based off the last 2 years, that now Connor and Leon both kind of sit back and say, okay, we got to change the composition of this team slightly? Because the reality is you ran up against a team that was more physical than you, younger than you.
Okay, hold up quickly. Who signed that?
I look-
Matajon.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Jerry.
Oh, I saw that yesterday when I was sitting in that spot. Never sitting there again.
But I just also looked up and I see a massive
Yeah,
signature
me
at the top.
too.
Matty was thinking, and then he's like, wait a second, what is going on
Well,
up
I'm
there?
trying to think who did that one. Okay, that one makes sense.
Jerry is 7 feet
Yeah.
tall.
Yeah.
basically.
Okay,
He did stand on that.
Yeah, he did.
He did
fair
sound on
enough.
that?
Sorry, Belzy. I got distracted.
No,
there.
that's okay.
Continue.
I was
So
just
they want to talk about the
It turned into me.
the composite of this team. Like, in what way though would they sit there? Like,
because you ran into a team that was younger, hungrier, meaner, bigger.
The one team, though.
that's it.
Yeah, but that's the one team that you need to get over.
Okay, but
so
that's
that
fair.
you can.
So you
So
also could sit there and hope that maybe someone in the East takes them out next year.
who's doing that?
Probably nobody. They're going to be the
They've been
same
there
team, basically.
3 straight years they've
Yeah.
gone to a
Who's
cup
doing
final.
it?
At some point they're falling.
Nobody's
Leafs.
doing. Yeah, the Leafs. Okay, because they're going to
Got them to 7. Who else got them to 7?
That's the same franchise that thinks losing a 100-point player is a good idea. We're going to replace them with nothing. Oh, okay.
But Belzy, yes, you're right.
Sure, Leafs fans.
Belzy, you're right. They do need to get younger. They need to get a little bit tougher and all the things you pointed out. But
Faster.
you're going to turn over 4 or 5 guys minimum anyway. So make sure you get the right 4 or 5 guys.
Well, I
Like,
think
is it going to
that's-
be any of the core? Like, are you asking
No.
about the core?
No, I'm not
Because-
asking about the core, but I'm just saying like the players that you had on the outside. Like if you try to do a comparison between the different rosters, like Connor Brown, for example, he's being talked about coming back. Connor Brown had a much better season than his first season with the Oil, but when push comes to shove and you get to that Stanley Cup final,
Yeah.
the players that played on the third line for the Florida Panthers were way more effective than Connor Brown. Connor Brown, and I'm not trying to take shots at him in any way, shape, or form, but
Belsey hates Connor Brown.
Right?
that
the clip
third
today.
line was physical, and they were unrelenting, and it became a problem. It was a challenge. And
Who was the
and
third line of the Panthers? It's Marchand.
Ryan and Lundell.
Lundell.
Go make that right trade
I
at the deadline.
think that's the best third line in the NHL, though.
Sure it is. But Connor Brown, like if you look at that series, right, when things started to the momentum back and forth and it was a fight for it, that third line went out and they took over.
Yep.
And if you're putting the clamps down on Connor and Leon, you need other guys to start to pick it up. And you watch Connor Brown play. Yeah, he's good on the PK. Yeah, he's got speed, but he doesn't necessarily make you earn it, if that makes sense.
Is that recency bias though? Because the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, we were talking
Dude,
about
I
how
watched
the
that.
Oilers' depth was so much better than every other team's depth.
It is good
and Connor
depth.
Brown was playing his,
Yep.
his ass off and was
He's got good speed, and like I said, I mentioned he had a better year than he did the previous year.
And he got
He's a good
blown
player.
up by Petch. And
But at the
concussion,
same time,
and he wasn't the same.
I watched him play even before that. He didn't really want to hit anybody. And the playoffs is about, it's like you have to impose your will on other teams.
Well, and you do have to make moves. That's the one fear I have with the Oilers going into this offseason is trying to bring everyone back.
Yep.
And you can't do that. I want to find what the Panthers did.
I think there's a balance.
Yes.
Right? You want to bring back guys that you think can contribute for you next year at the appropriate.
Yeah,
cost,
and the point
right?
of, the point of me bringing up Brown's not to say that Brown couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I'm just using him as an example to be like, yes, they had good depth and they had enough depth to beat all these other teams, but you're not trying to beat the other team. You're trying to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So Dallas, sure, whatever, you're better than them, but you weren't better than Florida 2 years in a row. So how do you become better?
Who makes that cut?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's kind of the point of the conversation, right? It's not to chirp Brown and be like he's not good or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, he got his head put into orbit. Yeah, maybe he had a broken foot, but I mean, there's a lot of other guys in the league. Chuck, what did he play with?
Yeah.
So
No, yeah, 100%.
And you look at the Panthers in last offseason. They lost OEL, Ryan Lumberg, Brandon Montour, Kevin Stenlund, Anthony Stollards, Vladimir Tarasenko, Nick Cousins, Kyle Okposo. Like they lost a lot of players. Yeah. There was a change.
There was some replacement
from that roster from year to year, and they won the cup. And that's the one fear I have with the Oilers is that like it's well, you want to re-sign Connor Brown and Corey Perry and bring everyone back. And it's like, well, but you can't. You ultimately didn't win it all for one, and you do got to improve. So the first shoe drops today of Kane. It's just curious who else. I guess Trent Frederick is a new one. I'm going to consider that completely new.
Yeah.
For this team, and I won't consider it much of last year. I'll put it more that was a trade for this year.
yeah.
But like, are we going to see Connor Brown back? Like to Tommy with Kapanen, and is he coming back? And it's just a lot of the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
And do you need that? And to your point, Bells, I think before, that's the thing of the composition of the team. I guess with those, like if I'm Connor and Leon, I'm going, we need to make tough choices as an organization. You need to go.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, well, we were such a fun group. Do it again.
Okay, really quickly,
If you want to win.
to compare, there's a lot of similarities between the 24 and the 25 Panthers, but guys that were gone from the team that won in 24. Tobias Bjornfoot, I don't think was there. Nick Cousins was gone. Ekman Larson was gone. William Locke, Lomberg was gone. Steven Lorentz was gone. Mahura was gone. Montour was gone. Okposo was gone. Mike Riley was gone. What else? Tarasenko was gone. So those are the ones. That's what, like 5 or 6 guys. It just naturally happens, but the main pieces are there. If you're gonna move and have a shuffle of 4 or 5 guys, then like you said, Belsey, with the Oilers, the focus needs to be on getting the right 4 or 5 guys in there.
Yeah.
Because I would say that the team that with Florida this past year, they upgraded in all those spots.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Seth Jones was a better player than OEL.
Yes.
He was a better player than Montour.
Yeah.
That top 4 became way better.
Those are good
that came at the deadline.
It did come at the deadline,
That's
yes.
the thing, right? They beat the narrative of teams that swing big at the deadline never win the Stanley Cup. they beat that. They went and got a very, very good defenseman and probably the second guy to the Conn Smythe in Marchand.
Yep.
I will say, actually, what's the concern on the defense of this team as they head into the offseason, into next year, with the idea that Echo might not be there to start? Like, we don't know what. I'm just going to throw it out there. You don't know. Like, he wasn't healthy through that run. It clearly wasn't him. Is there a concern to start the season? And maybe there is no Matthias Ekholm with that blue line.
Well,
This is why I think it was nice to get Jake Wallman that has another year on his deal.
But he doesn't replace.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't
Ekholm.
replace Ekholm. I'm also high on Wallman. I think compared to all other people, but like, yeah, if are you saying does Ekholm take a step back next year, or is he?
No,
just not
I'm
gonna
saying
be
he
in the
might.
lineup at
What if
all?
he's not there to start the season?
Oh,
You're saying he's recovering.
He's gonna. Like, what if
So
like
then you
we
go
get
out-
an announcement in the next couple of weeks that Matthias Ekholm had successful blank surgery, X to X. You know, like again, not fully healthy. You know, what is the recovery for whatever Matthias Ekholm was? Is it just time, and is he going to be ready to go for the start of the season, or is this going to be delayed? That is something I think the Oilers are going to have to look at and know going into the next couple of weeks, because you've got to be ready to go. If Matthias Ekholm's out for the first 3 months, how do you replace?
You got to go
Matthias
out and
Ekholm?
find another defenseman. Is what you need to do. I know that Bowman said, like, hey, we don't want, like, we
He doesn't
want to
wanna
leave
get
the
rid of
D.
people.
He
Right.
want to leaves it as close to what it was as possible. But I think you got to go in and you got to sign somebody.
Okay, here's the question. What if Matthias Ekholm doesn't play next year?
Then you
Until
got to
the
go out
playoffs?
and sign
No, I'm
somebody.
saying, is this a situation the Edmonton Oilers are looking at and going to Matthias Ekholm and going, if you're getting this done, it's going to take you 4 months. Let's just make it LTIR for the season. Let's get you in for the playoffs.
Then
Let's
they get
go.
investigated.
Yep.
As long as,
I'm making
as long as Matthias Ekholm doesn't say anything. Just Matthias Ekholm, do not speak. Do not say anything. We're not going to have a talk.
I thought he'd be fine.
But are we also maybe looking at a situation where the Edmonton Oilers, we're going to be talking about Ekholm on LTIR so that they can go take advantage of that and bring in a defenseman? And then you have a defense next year where you're adding Matthias Ekholm to a team that already is pretty solid.
I think they need to add a defenseman regardless of whatever they do.
Okay.
That's why the Bowman statement of like looking at forwards and goaltending and not defense, I was like,
where do you think they need to upgrade on their decor?
on the right side.
So
But I know they have Emberson under contract. They have Stetcher under
Yeah,
contract. Left
that-
side's fine,
yeah,
right? Like, but that's thinking with Ekholm being healthy. Even if Ekholm's hurt, you have Wallman,
yep.
right? And then Kulak's solid, and Nurse had a better year this year. But that right side,
It's Boosh and
and then Emberson
Stetcher.
and Stetcher as your right shot D man.
Yeah, that right
and
side's not
ain't
good
it.
enough.
No.
So you got to
but-
go out and sign it. You got to
have
go sign a
four-
defenseman.
You have four
Josh
very
Brown,
good
where does
left
he
shot
play?
guys.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Then one's gonna slide over.
He's got 2 more years.
If they're all healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring him in.
I'm just, when Josh Brown, does he improve and go into the next?
God, that contract
you?
is stupid.
It's actually not that bad because you get him in the minors and it doesn't cost you anything at that point, right?
You know what's
That's the only thing. Like, you can just, it's the million's not actually hitting your cap.
I
you're
might
just
as well
throwing
give
it
him 8 years at this point. I know.
Oh my God. Like, you're right in the grand
Oh my
scheme of
God.
things.
It's only Daryl's money.
Yeah.
Right? In the grand scheme of things, you're okay. But when you ask people around the team, like, what was that deal? And they're just like, we don't even know. We don't know. Did somebody owe somebody someone? Well, I don't know. Wasn't on our list. One line I got from a former scout for the team was like, I'll tell you what, he wasn't on my list going into the free agent frenzy. Jeez. Yeah. And then other guys were just like, we don't know why
Like
they signed him.
what they tried saying was like it was the replacement for Vinny, and
No, that, you know what? You would try to make that connection and they'd be like, I guess.
He was a depth. He was a depth defenseman. That's what he
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. But that price is
The price
ridiculous.
is, yeah. I would,
And the length, you're like,
Yeah.
okay. Whoever his agent is did a great job.
great job
yeah.
for him.
Yeah. Anyway, so they got to sign a defenseman. They have to.
I would prefer they did,
Yeah.
but
Even
And then
though
you
it's
gotta
been
go-
stated that they're not going to.
yeah, whatever.
It could be playing hard to get though.
Maybe.
You know?
Jazzy, maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the rest of the league, like they know the Oilers are desperate. For example, for a goalie, could be the same thing. Always desperate for a defenseman. Now it's like we're good.
It's
True.
They have guys under contract.
That's why. Yeah, I don't think they're fully dead. Like I wouldn't be shocked. I would like to see them make a move on goaltending, but I wouldn't be shocked if we're at the end talking about that it is Skinner and Pickard that are here next year.
And
I don't think it's a terrible thing.
And it is like the goaltending. You could probably improve it during the season.
Yes, that's the one thing.
Yeah.
Like that's where I can see, and just the cap situation dictates. Like if let's say you're moving on from, you want to bring in a goalie. Now let's say I'm going to use the higher contract. Let's say Skinner's the one to go out. Skinner's 2.6.
Yeah.
Okay, with the tight cap situation, what goalie that are you bringing in that is at 2.6 or like?
Yeah.
What's that number? And where's that hurting you elsewhere in the lineup? Yeah. That's why, like, I agree fully with what you say, Belzy, about they needed those saves and all that, and they need to go address goaltending. But I also can see, just as I look at the summer and this roster and the holes and the cap, I could sit there and go, well, they got two guys under contract for less than $4 million.
So then what I would do is I would try to improve the defense.
Yeah.
So that, like, some of the mistakes that they make, I'm not just going to put on the defense, but as a whole, like they need to defend better.
Yeah.
And I know that this comment came out where they know how to defend, but the reality is when push came to shove, did they know how to actually defend?
Not against Florida. In the first 3 rounds, yes. Well,
Yes.
to start LA series.
So sorry.
no.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
So they got to get another defender that can help defend.
I
have a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Benny.
I was just saying that, but like they already have enough guys on contract to fill out those spots. Would you think they'd have to trade a defenseman to sign a defenseman?
No.
You should add another one.
If you get rid of Arvidsson
yeah.
and you bring in the right players at the right price, you have the ability to sign a defense.
So they have Ekholm, Bouchard, Nurse, Wallman, Kulak,
Stetcher.
Emberson, Stetcher. That's 7. If you bring in another D-man, are you going to try to carry 8 or are you going to send Stetcher or Emberson down? What's your...
One of those two, you probably carry 8 or one of them goes down,
Yeah.
which isn't great either, but like you got to be creative in how you do things this summer. You have to. And you have to find players that are going to make a little bit less money, that are going to be able to impact the game. And it's not going to be impact by just scoring every single time, but if they're not scoring, then they better be able to defend.
Mm-hmm. Andrew, the accountant, via the inbox 780-218, bless you. 218-9999 says, I think Pegs also mentioned on the hit show Hello Hockey.
No way.
The Oilers were looking
10 o'clock Saturday.
looking at Ryan Lindgren for free agency, and yes, he did mention Ryan Lindgren.
Like that'd be a great pickup.
Yeah. And Lindgren had
Great
a bad
pickup.
year with New York, among many guys who had bad years with New York. My question was this. If you're the Oilers, are you building your team, and is the aim to build your team to beat the Florida Panthers or to just be a Stanley Cup contender that could beat any team?
That's my thing because it's like,
Or are those the same thing?
They're different, but they're close.
but the same.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Same, but different.
If you build
Same,
yourself a
different.
Stanley Cup contender, the Oilers are that, and you still might lose to the Panthers because they're that good.
Yeah.
If you build yourself to be the Panthers, you're better than everyone. It doesn't matter who you face. Like if you don't end up meeting the Panthers, you're going to beat them. So they're very similar. It's not including the Florida Panthers in that second one,
Yeah.
and that may be the like it was this year, the final test. And so at that point, if you're building yourself to be a Stanley Cup contender yet again, you're then just hoping it's not the Florida Panthers for a 4th straight year for them to make it to the Cup final.
Yeah.
You could beat anyone. Like the Oilers this year would have beaten anyone else.
Yeah.
I do believe that.
You're right.
But if you build yourself to beat the Florida Panthers, I don't think there's a team that you wouldn't beat if you focus on them.
It depends what the Panthers do as well.
But
This
they
year.
don't have to do much.
They don't have to do much.
That's the thing. But you're right. They only have a couple pieces. That,
yeah. I'll say, like we talked about, I think on the show a couple weeks ago about how the LA Kings got too focused on trying to beat the Oilers, and that screwed up everything. Because if they just focused on bettering their team, not trying to focus on matchups, who knows? Maybe they would have beat the Oilers one year, or even if things shake out a different way, they go on a deeper run. But because they got so focused on trying to line up against the Oilers, they make that trade for PLD that screwed up everything. That completely ruined them last year. Well, or I guess now if we're saying this
Didn't help.
But I think if they do other things, I don't know if they still beat the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And that's where, it's funny because they, from the West, they're the team that gives the Oilers the best matchup, actually. As much as we mocked them after the first round and stuff, like you look back and you go, actually, no, they're a good team. And maybe if they wasn't for the Oilers, if they don't match up against the Oilers,
they go deeper.
What type of run could they possibly go on?
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
And it's just the Edmonton Oilers just are in their heads. But the one difference I will say, though, between, focusing on the one team, if it's a first round matchup, who knows what comes next? But if it's a Stanley Cup matchup, there is no next. So if you go and build your team and you are just ultra focused on the one team, well, if you face them again, but you beat them, it's over. You've won the cup. Whereas if you beat the Edmonton Oilers, if you're the LA Kings, well, what's next?
You got something
Well, you're
left,
round two.
Yeah.
You still got 3 more. And that's where I don't mind if the Oilers actually have like a singular focus on the Panthers, because the only way they'll meet them is in the Stanley Cup final. And if you face anyone else, I think you're good. But if you ultimately beat them, there's nothing next.
Yeah.
Only
Yeah.
if the Leafs could have finished them off in Game 7, eh?
That was a dud game 7 too.
I know.
So when you look at the Panthers, by the way, they have 19 million in cap space. They have Brad Marchand as a UFA, Thomas Nosek as a UFA, Sam Bennett as a UFA, Nico Sturm as a UFA, Nate Schmidt as UFA, Aaron Ekblad as a UFA, Jacob Megna as a UFA, Vanacek is a UFA.
I think they have 6 of the 8 defensemen that they had locked up.
Yeah. Ekblad
and Schmidt are the only 2 that aren't coming back. So, like, even from their depth perspective, they had 8 quality defensemen.
Yeah.
Because that's what you need.
It'll be intriguing who they get rid of.
Right? So, when you talked about Stetcher and Emberson, like, you bring in another guy and you roll your 8 defensemen out and somebody gets hurt, well, you have Stetcher or Emberson coming in, and that's good depth behind, and that's what you need in the playoffs. You need that quality, and that's why teams are always trading for defensemen in the playoffs, because they're like, well, we got to add to the depth. So,
There's no way they could keep Brad Marchand, Sam Bennett, Aaron Ekblad, and Nate Schmidt unless they're also trading someone off their roster.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
You'd think, unless like Marchand takes the cheapest deal
Well,
ever.
did you see
Right,
the
but-
report that Bennett's deal, what was it, like 7 or 8 mil per year?
8.
Yeah.
8 mil per year. Yeah.
But if it's 8, that takes the cap down. That gives them 11 mil. Brad Marchand, what's he going to get?
I think he wants 8 too, doesn't he?
Okay, let's say he takes a discount and is even 6. Let's just, for argument's sake here, from 11 to 6, that leaves you with what? 5 left. No, 4 left. 5 left. 5 left. My
Ekblad,
math.
I think.
So now,
Ekblad
that's
wants
not
7.
enough to
Yeah.
sign Ekblad and Schmidt.
No.
Maybe you could get Schmidt in that, but
Schmidt, you probably
Ekblad is gone at that point.
letting.
Yeah.
Again, unless you're making a trade, the Panthers will have small, they'll lose somebody, but beyond that, like their roster is locked in.
Yeah.
They'll be able to keep like at least 3 or 4 of those guys.
Jazz, you're going back to Florida next year.
No, don't say that.
Just teasing.
Stupid Fort Lauderdale.
Why? The thing that will run into the Panthers will be, can they do it for 4 straight years, or will they finally
Exactly.
Hit a wall.
hit that wall
Yeah.
that might come? That's the big question that you would have to ask. But again, you're adding a Seth Jones to that blue line for a full season.
I know.
God.
I know, they were so
a good-
smart with
That's
that.
pretty. If you allow Aaron Ekblad to walk away,
Sean, yeah.
That's
you got Seth Jones.
Yeah.
That's not bad if you're Bill Zito.
to me like that's why I'm not overly I don't feel like I need to see the Oilers make a move on the blue line yet. I think I'm willing to start this year with the Oilers decor as it is, and then if by trade deadline comes,
Yeah.
we go, all right, we need a D-man. We need to see a D-man come to Edmonton here. Then
But I think that's completely dependent on whether Ekholm's in the picture or not.
Yep.
Because if he's out of the picture, then you only have Kulak, Nurse, Wallman, Bouchard. Is that top 4 good enough to get you where you need to go?
Kulak, Nurse, Wallman, Bouchard. Good to go where? Like we're talking regular season. or overall?
Just regular season.
Yeah,
Like, because
don't
if
matter.
Yeah, your
Ekholm
goal is to
completely
make the
out,
playoffs. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Connor and Leon in that forward group with that defense, and I don't know, you could be Skinner and Pickard in that. That's good enough. We've seen it's to make you to put you in a playoff spot. Is it winning the Pacific? Probably not. Are you in second, third in Pacific? Maybe at the top of wild card? Yeah, you are. You're better than everyone. A lot of teams in the West.
That decor that started off last year, was it not Ekholm, Bouchard, Nurse, Kulak, Emberson, and what?
Yeah, but Ekholm's the best one
Seffer.
of the bunch.
Yeah.
So if he's out, you're taking a hit.
And
You are coming back
but he
down.
wasn't fully healthy this year.
No.
Like, and so
No.
then that's where it's like, okay,
But that's
I
kind of
think,
my point, right? Like,
so instead of the Oilers finishing third in the Pacific, they're finishing wild card spot 1 or 2 at that without any other moves.
yes.
I believe that. But then they'll go and make them. And if Ekholm is hurt, they'll go make some sort of move to fill his roster because of LTIR. They'll be able to fill out some sort of space at some point. The official drink of the EST Hangout is the Finnish long drink. Legend of 1952. Drink unlike any other sparkling refreshment, real liquor. Longdrink.com/Can is where you can enter your postal code and find a liquor store and establishment nearest you with the long drink in stock. Absolutely delicious, and it's a perfect drink for the summers, which we are officially into, and it should be actually relatively nice today. And if you're looking for a drink for the draft on tonight's NBA draft or Friday's NHL draft, grab yourself a
It's
Finnish
going
long
to rain
drink.
today.
It's a tonight.
The draft is
The NBA's
Yeah.
tonight.
Nice.
Cooper Flag will go first overall, and then we'll see whatever else happens.
What are the Raps going to do?
They,
I don't know, but Fred VanVleet just signed with the Rockets on a 2-year extension.
Really?
Yeah.
Can we talk about how Shea won before Paul George?
Well,
Kawhi Leonard has made some of the dumbest decisions from a superstar
Except going to Toronto.
maybe ever. But he didn't make that decision. He got traded. He had no choice.
he didn't
So they
trade
talk-
Shea.
Yeah.
He said, I want Paul George.
He basically traded
They
Shea.
traded him for him.
He basically said it.
He said, I want Paul George.
I want Paul George. Do whatever you need to do to get rid of him.
But that's,
to get him.
That's
to
their
acquire
fault
him.
for not making a different deal to get Paul
They
George.
gave up 400 first rounders.
Yes.
Shea.
OKC still has it.
Like OKC, like that GM deserves a raise as much as you want. Because I was listening to a show the other day and they're talking about, okay, well, if you're going to sign your 3 core pieces, then you're going to move on a bunch of players because you won't have the cap space to take and pull all those players back, but you still have 14 first rounders coming. So you could be like a dynasty based on the players that you consistently bring in. Like, could this be the first true dynasty that we see?
In the NBA?
Like in the
cap
last
era.
couple of years? Like,
You want to know
have-
something?
you have
I'm
the
skeptical of that
Warriors.
one yet. You have the Warriors. I'm skeptical because we thought the Nuggets were going to be that team. And they weren't.
Yeah, but they
And we
don't
thought no one was
have the
gonna stop 'em.
resources.
I know, but we thought no one was going to stop them. And then the Celtics last year, and we're like, the Celtics are so good. No, and they get, like, to me,
They didn't have the resources either.
absolutely. But let me see OKC get to the NBA Finals for 2 straight years.
They probably
and then
will.
I'll have that conversation.
I feel like they made it so easy this year. Granted,
I don't know
Pacers
if I'd
were
say
an
they
unreal
made it
team.
easy.
Yeah.
The Nuggets took them to 7. Like, I'm not, what, Timberwolves took them to 6? I think still, I wouldn't say it was easy. You got the Rockets are adding KD. The West is a difficult conference. If they get to an NBA final next year, I'll agree with that. And they have the better outlook than those other teams I said. But we all thought that Jokic and Murray and that team, no one's ever going to stop them. Look how dominant they were. And the next year, they didn't even get to the NBA final.
They didn't
Now
have
they're
the
talking about
resources.
getting rid of
though.
Jokic.
I know, but we all thought that they, like, with Jokic and Murray, like, they're just so strong that no one's going to stop them. Who's going to stop what Jokic is doing? Like, that's why I get it, but I'm not there just yet. Shaggy and St. Albert. Oilers regressing from cup contender to wild card team. The implosion continues. The Edmonton Oilers were 3rd in the Pacific this year. I just want to go back to what we've learned from last season was the regular season doesn't matter. I don't care if they're a wild card team. When it comes to the playoffs, are they a cup contender? They will be. I don't care where they finish in the Western Conference. They're a cup contender as soon as they make the playoffs because what do we see this year? This team will turn it on when they need to. The regular season, all that matters for the Edmonton Oilers is to get the X next to their name. It's not for any other spot. And I don't care about home ice. That argument goes away. We never should be talking about home ice again for the Edmonton Oilers because they had it for the Stanley Cup final and it didn't work. It didn't matter in the end. So, no, this isn't a dropping to wildcard from cup contender. They are a cup contender wildcard team potentially next year with what you were laying out. That's where I'm going with that one.
I'm just surprised Shaggy was all doom and gloom with that text.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Like, the regular season does not matter to the Florida Panthers. It does not matter to the Edmonton Oilers. It does not matter to a certain amount of teams. The Oilers with the idea of who knows with Ekholm and it's about getting to the deadline so that you can make your moves to load up for the playoffs for that cup run. I don't care where they finish. They can finish second in the wild card. Doesn't matter to me. And go through the Central Division. They're still a cup contender, and they're probably the favorites of the West.
That's a good position to be in.
Yeah.
Don't worry. We'll have 10 months of complaining.
Up and down.
And this and that.
This team is brutal. They're not making the playoffs.
Yeah, just give us a
Connor's
good
leaving.
2 months of a reprieve, and we'll be ready for all that nonsense come mid to late September. What? It's
This
true.
is why I want to have that's why I was having the conversation about the roster composition. This exact reason. Because yes, we're gonna have up and downs. We're gonna have all these different things, but two things are very real when it comes to why they lost in the Stanley Cup final. And you can't take away from those two reasons. One, their goaltending wasn't good enough, and two, their defense wasn't good enough.
So are you guys talking about Durant?
Yep.
KD.
No, seriously.
No, we're talking NHL.
Oh, okay.
Shaggy, Tommy
That's a
said
joke.
they'd be out first, second round next year.
No, hang on. Let me
let you
clarify
clarify.
that. Thank you. With the way things have gone, I feel like next year could be a year where they do hit a wall, like we were talking about the Panthers, because of how deep they've gone the last 4 years, and they do have an earlier exit, and then they come back stronger the following year and make another run. I just feel like that could happen. I feel like that might actually happen, and if it does, people get mad, and we'll talk about this next time this year, or this time next year, and
Well, what I'll say on that is the odds are against the Edmonton Oilers making the Cup final again next year. Straight up, the
Yeah,
odds
it
are
is.
against them because of the making it to a Cup final 3 straight years is always going to be difficult. And the Panthers did it, awesome to them. The Lightning did it, awesome again. But how often else does it happen?
not very often.
Right, like that. So the odds do actually state that the Edmonton Oilers will not make the Cup next year.
What does Florida? What about their odds?
Well, it'd be even less. You don't make the Cup final 4
Right.
straight years.
Yeah.
That's why, like, it's just when we've all watched enough sports in our lives to know.
Yeah.
To continually get back there year in and year out, especially in a cap era, it is difficult. The odds are stacked against the Edmonton Oilers right off the bat of getting to a Cup final next year.
They're going to win it, though, next year.
I love that.
You actually think so?
Yeah, because I'm looking across the league in the West, and I'm saying who's going to challenge them.
For the Oilers? Mm-hmm. I agree with you on that. But I
like,
also can
let's-
see them losing and
here-
then coming and doing what Tommy
let's
says
play
and coming back the
hypothetical
next year
here.
and winning it, though.
Marner goes to the Knights. Okay, with the roster they have, Marner goes to the Knights. Does that put them over the hump to beat the Oilers?
No. Puts
Don't
them
think so.
It puts them in the spot to win the Pacific
Yeah,
in the regular
but it
season, but
doesn't-
not beat them in the playoffs. no.
Exactly. Okay, so then Marner goes to, because he's probably, could we agree he's the best free agent right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so then Marner goes to the Kings. Is that enough?
No. He's not helping the Kings in the playoffs against him.
He goes to Utah. Is that enough?
Well, they're not in the playoffs.
Well, they're not even in
maybe.
the playoffs. Exactly. So if Marner goes to
Dallas. That's right.
is that enough? I don't think it is, because Dallas to me
They have no physicality to
And they
match.
have
that's
the Oilers.
zero
exactly
cap
my
space to do it on
exactly
that.
my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Colorado, they're trying to figure out their cap space right now, and Natchez apparently doesn't want to sign for $9 million. So they've got their own nonsense. So Winnipeg,
They won't meet. Well, the one thing about Winnipeg would tell me that I would be worried about the Oilers going up against Hellebuck. I know he doesn't have great playoffs numbers, but he did against the Oilers. That's the only fear I would have with Winnipeg, and I think they can match a little bit physically. But seeing what the Ehlers might be gone.
Yeah.
Like seeing what their roster will look like. But I think the Oilers are the favorites out of the West.
Yeah,
But
so-
it's back to to get to the Cup will always be difficult though. And there's no guarantees. And I don't care that I expect a Cup this year from McDavid and Draisaitl next year. Well, there's only one team that ultimately wins the Cup, and there's no one that's guaranteed a Cup. So, to me, the odds are stacked against the Oilers, but are they good enough to still get there next year? Yeah, they're good enough to make the Cup final the next 5 years, I would say.
They know what it takes. They felt the hurt again. They'll be back. Also, before you say anything.
Yeah, well, Big Uke has a team that I want to throw Belzy's way.
Oh, actually, go ahead. Because I was going to say the other motivation is a $500,000 tab at 11 in Miami. That gets taken care of. That's motivation for me, okay?
Was that one night?
Yeah, one night.
Holy
but if you think about it, it kind of adds up. Like each bottle is like $1,000 to $2,000, right? Makes sense.
You're buying drinks for everyone.
Yo, 11 is the best club I've ever been to in my life, I
You were
must
there?
say. Oh, yeah.
Why is it awesome?
It's just a really great music, the setup. They always have star DJs. Just an awesome place, good vibe, nice people.
Oh,
Minnesota Wild.
I think they'll go get Besser. I don't know what to be Mark.
Are
That's what I'm
they
saying.
the best challenge if in a series against the Oilers? Would they pose the biggest threat to the Edmonton Oilers if there was a series against them? Which, one, if you finish in the wild card, you might go see them. If they're in the Central, if they come wild card, they might come to the Pacific, or you might meet them in the conference finals. But would they be the team that would give you, out of all the teams in the West, that you sit there and be like, that would be the one that gives the Oilers the most threat or fear?
Are we just saying that because they suck in Minnesota?
A good hockey team. We saw this year that they were really good. They got hurt, dropped off.
They were very good,
And then
yes. Yeah.
they got better as soon as they started getting their players back a little
Yep.
bit healthy.
But they still lost to Vegas. And
Sure.
fairly handedly.
But, well, handily?
Fairly handedly.
Couple overtimes. They go
won-
the different way. It shouldn't have, like, there was a
Weren't
bad,
they- they
there
were
was
down
no
2-0,
goal call,
right?
Or they got a goal call back that could have changed that entire series.
Yeah, well, what if the sun doesn't come up?
Then we're all dead.
Well, there you go. So they didn't get by Vegas.
But, okay, so they go out of Besser, though. Like, what are they going to do this offseason? Those guys are off the books.
Yeah, Suter and
I
Parisi.
actually think Minnesota is a very good hockey team because they were in the top 5 for a long time until they started to get beat up.
Yeah.
But
I have questions about their goaltending.
Gustafsson isn't solidified.
Well, he had a great year, but is he going to do it again? Is
There's
he
that.
consistently going to? I would be very encouraged by having him and having.
are
the year that he
they
had.
are they a physical enough team to kind of go through the rigors of the playoffs?
I think so. They're a bigger team.
They got size.
Yeah.
That would be a team, and there is
That's an interesting
going
team
to
for sure.
Minnesota one.
Yeah.
Like that. So
That's
that
an
would be
interesting
that would be
team.
the one that I agree. There's a
That's
few
the
people.
sneaky one.
That
That's
would
a
be
really
if
good
they
team.
Yeah.
if Bill Guerin does the right stuff with, like, what is their roster this year look like?
And that's kind of how I feel about the Oilers. If they
Yeah.
do the right things, I don't see teams. I see teams close, but I don't necessarily see a team that could truly challenge them.
They have 15.7 in cap space.
With a lot of people locked up, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
They need to lock up Nyquist, Justin Brazeau, Marco Rossi, John Merrill, Declan Skids.
And they might be they're looking to trade Rossi, aren't they?
Chisholm. Thank you. And
Hey,
that's it.
Rossi's in trade talks too. Like
Yeah.
his name's come up in the
Rossi?
rumor. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Rossi's
Rumor
been in the rumor a little bit. It's because, like, I don't know if Minnesota wants to pay him.
He got a 30-goal season, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 60
Yeah,
points or something.
I think that's what it is. They don't want to pay him.
So yeah,
that money.
they still have 15 point. What did I say?
And he was like
7
relegated
mil.
to like the 3rd or 4th line too at times, right?
Yeah.
So they have money that they can go spend. Next year they have to sign Kaprizov and Zuccarello, but Zuccarello 37. Who knows? But Kaprizov will take a bit. But then the cap also jumps up yet again.
Yeah.
They'll have to sign Bogosian that year too. So it's
He's also pretty old, isn't he?
he's 34. So after this year, like, you might not have him. So like they're actually locked up in a pretty nice thing. A lot of cap space coming this year and next year for them largely. If
They
Bill
can go
Guerin
swing.
does some nice things, you never know. That would I agree with that one. That's
Yeah. They're at a spot to swing big.
yeah.
This offseason or the next one.
Can I read a text to you guys?
Please.
Hey guys, BP Tony here. Tony! Here's a huge out-of-box thinking trade. Bouchard, Skinner, O'Reilly, 2nd and 3rd to Boston. Get Swayman and Pasta 25% retained. Get Blue Jackets to help retain to get cap ceiling. Then sign Yoki Haru, Roslovic, or Sprong and try to bring back Klim. Tony from BP Westgate.
There's a lot to that
Tony,
one.
there's a lot to unpack with that, but
I have one thing.
I made a
would
trade
say.
like that in my franchise mode last night.
That's nice.
You don't have to deal with player locker room chemistry.
Nope, but I turned off morale.
And
I turned off morale.
Turn off morale.
oh, there's a morale thing for that.
Oh my god, yeah.
I didn't know that.
They got everything. They have no moves. They
I
have
love
modified
that.
no moves. They got
Damn.
everything.
Again, I'll go back to is McDavid and Draisaitl okay with letting Bouchard go?
No.
I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know. But Tony does want to get rid of Bouchard. He's not.
I know, but does Connor, does Leon, are they okay with the idea that the Edmonton Oilers would make that type of move where they don't have Evan Bouchard on the team? That's the question.
valid.
Is he part of a core in there or not, or is it more he in that like the other player Tyson Barrie, where it's like great locker room vibes, but if the deal has to be done, the deal has to be done.
What was the trade again?
Bouchard, Skinner, O'Reilly, a couple picks. I forgot which picks.
Second.
For
Swayman,
Swayman, Pasternak, but retained
25%.
And then there's other things like with Columbus and stuff. But that's so you're bringing Swayman in, you're bringing David Pasternak.
There's not a chance in hell that Boston would take that for just Pasternak, let alone Swayman.
That's a good point.
That is very
Then
good.
sign Yoki Haru, Roslovic, and Sprong. Try to bring Klim Kostin back. Tony's been sitting on that one for a while, I feel like.
Just Pasternak alone, that trade doesn't get done.
Probably.
And like, I mean, yeah, I'm thinking too realistically for this, but like Boston would not want Bouchard when they have McAvoy.
And Boston's in a bit of a
Weird spot. Yeah, they
Yeah.
didn't put them anywhere. They kind of
rebuild, retool
Yeah.
type.
Like, how
area.
quickly do they want to rebuild? How quickly do they want to retool?
I think they want to make their way back to the playoffs next year. I think they'd want to.
Okay, but if you make that trade, then
No,
are you
how?
even remotely close to?
Nowhere near.
Yeah.
That'd be a movie you make if you're trying to kind of tank, I guess.
This is the EST Hangout presented by Sentinel Storage, Canada storage experts, more than 2 decades helping Canadians through life transition. Canadian storage provider. Be sure to buy Canadian. Bruins also unveiled a new logo, by the way, just speaking of them.
And jerseys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coming up still on EST today, we've got Lock Shop and Oil Stream. Both of those, but Tommy's heading off to Capilano BP's. Dusty's there for Lock Shop as well, Capilano's BP's. We've got EST Afternoons with her and Engager. We've got the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne coming up in 3 until 6. Reed is back. I think he's already in the building.
Yeah, he's
and then 7:35-ish, the Edmonton Riverhawks, they're out in Victoria taking on the Harbor Cats. Big win yesterday. You'll catch that on our audio streams across here on Edmonton Sports Talk. So stay tuned for that on our audio streams as well. But that's what we've got for you for the rest of the day, obviously, with Oil Stream, with EST Afternoons and the Reed Wilkins Show. A lot more on the big news of the day, which if you just tuning in and missed it, Evander Kane is now a member of the Vancouver Canucks. The Edmonton Oilers trading him to the Canucks for a 4th round pick this year. So now the Edmonton Oilers have a 3rd, a 4th, a 6th, and a 7th in this year's draft, which will take us to over-under, brought to you by Play Alberta. Use the promo codes EST Sports when you deposit $20 or more for a $50 free sports bet, or YEG50 when you deposit $5 or more for a $50 free sports bet. Download the app today or visit playalberta.ca. All the money does stay right here in Alberta. Over under 0.5 trades before the draft, or moves, I'll say, for the Oilers the next couple days before the draft begins on Friday. 0.5. Over under. Do we see an Arvidsson move? Do we see anything else? What would you guys set it at? 0.5 by Friday.
Over.
You think we'll actually see another move before
I think
that?
so.
Yeah.
Or not after?
I say under.
I think it's too.
I could see the Oilers as doing it after the draft and letting it play out.
Yeah.
Like once it starts, once first pick goes up. If they trade during the draft, that's not part of this 0.5.
I could see them just doing something just so that they know exactly where they're sitting
So they get rid of Arvidsson by then.
going into July
Potentially.
1. Because then they can say, okay, this is the pieces that we have. This is what we want to do. I could see them getting a Bouchard deal done quickly.
Oh, that's part of it then. Yeah.
I could see, I can just see that by the time they hit July 1, they want to have all their ducks in a row.
I didn't say July 1 though. I said draft.
I know.
Right. Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah.
I will say this. I'll be fascinated to see if we see more or less activity at the draft on Friday with the decentralization of this year's draft.
I would think less.
Or is it more because you don't have, like, I don't know how the cameras are going to be you shooting this, but you had a draft when it's centralized. You have Jeff Jackson walking over to the Leafs just because he wants to catch up with Brad Treliving. And everyone's going, oh my God, they're talking trade.
Exactly.
Oh my God, they're talking trade. Oilers are trading for the rights of Mitch Marner. These boys are talking, when really it's just Jeff Jackson going, yeah, so what's a good restaurant in Toronto these days? Like, I when I get back, like, that's all it is. But so maybe there's a little bit of the GMs going, well, anytime I go talk to someone, like, and then people blow up now, maybe I could call more and poke around a little bit more because there's not enough attention.
Which is
or I could
funny
be more
because-
secretive. Other teams won't see what I'm doing because if I pick up the phone, they don't know who I'm talking with.
Sure.
Whereas if they go see me walking over to Craig Conroy, are they talking about a trade? Like, are the teams like, we got to jump in? Like, maybe secrecy.
There's not
I don't
tons
know.
of trades anyway at the draft.
Depends on the year.
Yeah, it depends on the year.
I remember the one year, I think it was in LA or I can't remember where it was, but like leading up to the draft, the Flyers got rid of Mike Richards and Jeff Carter. And it was just massive moves on like the Wednesday, Thursday or something. It was wild. It was great.
That was out of necessity.
I know, but it was one of those years where like there was just so much movement all of a sudden. And then there was the year Corey Schneider got traded to the Devils during the draft. which the Oilers were apparently rumored into possibly being part of at the time. So there are some years where like there's some decent move activity, and then there's years like I remember a couple years ago where there wasn't a single trade in the first round, and it just drafted. And you're like, oh, we did that.
I'm re-emphasizing my over-under. There's definitely going to be another move before the draft.
Okay.
Ooh.
Attaboy. What would it take to get Powers out of Buffalo?
Owen Power? A lot. He just signed an 8-year deal there.
So why are they like if the Sabres are trying to be better and to get to the playoffs or be a contender or even just a playoff contender, why are you trying to move Power? Why
Are
you
they trying to?
Yeah, he's in
His name
he's
was
rumor
out
mill.
there.
His name's been out there.
So is Paterka. Like, why would you want to move
So
these
is
young
Byram,
players?
messed
so
up.
is Samuelson's.
It makes no sense.
The one reason I will say that it maybe makes sense is it's not working as is right now.
Yeah.
Tony
That's
from
the one
BP brought
argument.
up Tage Thompson, by the way.
That's the one argument.
I'd be
you
all
can
over
make.
Tage Thompson. I'd be all over Alex Tuck. Those two players,
Tuck, I really like.
unbelievable. You're not going to get them,
I know. Tuck is a guy I would definitely have.
but I'd be going after
Always
both of those players.
The flip side though is this hasn't worked for Buffalo.
Yeah.
That's the one argument you can make is this is the same like these players. It's not working here.
Because their roster composition sucks.
They have good players, but
Terrible
their direction.
management.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Their
they have
management
zero
is
direction.
garbage. Yeah. Same thing as the Canucks. Is this management?
Like that's how Florida won. They just went and they targeted Buffalo's best players.
Let's go shopping.
Thank you.
Just a quick CFL note.
man.
Riders are starting practice. Trevor Harris not out there. Ooh. And Nathan Rourke has actually been practicing, looking like he might play this week. At one point, I saw that line at 6.5 for the Riders' favorites. If there's no Trevor Harris and there's Nathan Rourke, that line's going to shift big time. Might be worth looking at the BC lines and jumping on them a little bit. Even if they don't win, it's going to be closer than a touchdown.
Just one quick note. Moving on from Arvidsson is the plan right now, obviously, and there should be something coming up.
Thank
Is what
you.
I've been told.
How
Nice.
quick is quick?
I don't. Before the draft.
Okay.
How about the next hour?
That I can't pinpoint.
But give me something here. Not
Let's do it at noon for the oil stream.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's more moves coming.
So
I'm gonna say.
we'll see.
And Arvidsson's probably one of them.
On a quick entertainment note, The Bear season 4 airs today on Disney Plus with all 10 episodes released.
Boom.
Wow.
That's exciting.
Great show.
What's it called again?
The Bear,
Rar.
Oh,
It was a huge, not a great last season by all accounts,
which
but a great
I
show
liked.
apparently.
I liked
Really?
all 4
Gager
seasons.
loved it.
I love that
what's
show.
it about?
Cooking.
It's
So
like-
the kitchen.
It's like what goes behind the scenes. It's a drama. What goes behind the scenes in the kitchen? Like you'll be like a nice, calm restaurant, and then you go behind the scenes, and it's just chaos.
Apparently, a lot of chefs have PTSD watching it.
That's
they don't
right.
like watching it because it reminds them of
Facts.
being in a kitchen.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like it's that chaos. It's
It
a great
was a
show.
couple years ago. It dominated the award shows.
And it's only like a 30, 40-minute episode.
Yeah.
So you should give it a
supposed
shot.
to be great.
You'll like it right off the bat.
Couple quick hitters. Also, Canada men's national soccer team.
Yes.
Weird win over El Salvador yesterday. El Salvador dropped to 9 men, 2 red cards in the first half. Take on Guatemala on Sunday. If they win that game in the knockout stage, you'll likely meet the Americans next week. In a big battle with the winner going to the final of the Gold Cup. Canada's not won the Gold Cup since 2000. They need to be better. It wasn't a good enough game from them yesterday. I'll say that. They drawn with Curacao on Saturday. They need to much improvement right now if they want to go win this Gold Cup. But they do have the talent to see if they can go do that. And again, the Edmonton Elks, they'll take on the Bombers tomorrow. 5:30 Green and Gold kickoff show. Myself and J-Mill will get you set for that game. Elks depth chart not out yet. The big change that we will see will be David Beard out, Cordy in center. I'm thinking Evans will be at the left guard position. We'll see what changes are on defense with Rugamba having been released this week.
Yeah.
I think Jackson will move over to a different spot. We'll have to wait and see when the depth chart fully comes out. But nothing else major should be expected when it comes to that. The Elks are going to be very much in tough. The play Alberta line, it's dropped now to 10. The Bombers straight up 10-point favorites in this one. Part of that goes to the Bombers are a good team. Another part, teams don't win in Winnipeg. I think I heard Dusty say like 6 wins or losses
44.
in 44
Yeah.
at home. Like it's ridiculous how good the Bombers are at Princess Auto Field. So it's tough for the Elks.
I want to add something to what you just brought up. Because there was discussion on the morning show about Trey Ford and the pressure mounting on him. I think Dave Naylor wrote something about it. I don't believe that. This is your guy. There has to be patience. 2 games in 3 weeks with a bye. You can't be breathing down his neck just yet against. And you've been talking about it for months since the schedule came out. I call it a mini murderer's row.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's pressure on Trey Ford. There's always going to be pressure on him, but like I don't think it's heating up to push him out. And you're going, hey, we're going to Cody Fajardo. And I was in that post-game press conference with Killam, and it was brought up, like, were you thinking about bringing in Fajardo? He just straight up said no.
That was a quick no.
Yeah.
It was a quick no. The 2 things I'll add on that one is I don't sense it from the fan base at all.
Exactly.
I don't sense
neither.
any pressure on Trey. Like even looking at Twitter or post game on Green and Gold post game show, like there's a lot of it's people looking at the offensive struggles and they're going, it's the O-line or it's this and that. And there's a lot of people like, if you, for lack of a better term, making excuses for Trey in a sense and going, no, it's this, it's this, it's this. So I don't sense any of that from the fan base. And I think if they lose to Winnipeg, I don't think that there's going to be, time to go to Cody. I think Dusty brought up a great point on the morning show. The fan base has been calling for Trey Ford.
Yep.
I don't see the pressure from the fan base of you got to go to Cody for a little bit still. I do agree, though, that Ottawa game is so important.
Yep.
July 6th. If the Elks come out and lose that game, but more specifically, if that offense looks disastrous still or like out of rhythm or they're not doing something, then I think fans, but more notably within that organization, I think there's a little bit of that pressure starting here. But like, okay, what do we have to like? This guy's got, you got to start winning at some point.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the fascinating thing is how does this team handle July 6th against Ottawa? But that's it. Like the Elks did give Trey Ford a 3-year contract. I don't think you give him a 3-year contract and then 3 weeks in and be like, wow, he's not the guy.
No.
Because then you're screwed with the cap situation for a couple of years.
Right.
I think his contract gets more money like as the years progress.
Yeah.
So I agree. If I had to put I think the question was 1 to 10, 10 being complete, like throw in Fajardo 1 is that's all good. I think the Elks and the fan base right now are at like a 3. You can't be at a 1.
No, and you got to be
like you're losing. There's got to be something, but I don't think we're cranked up just yet.
Well, it's the same conversation that we've had in the years past. Like after a couple of games, flipping to a different quarterback, then you're not truly seeing what he's capable of.
Right.
So you've got to ride with him.
Because, and this is where I get frustrated with last year. Last year should have been the development year for Trey Ford.
Yep.
It should have been used as not a win now season. And unfortunately, Chris Jones made a win now season and everything got thrown up. This year, it's both. Has to be both. It's about winning, but there's still a level of developing Trey Ford. And 2013 wasn't a great year for the Edmonton Elks. I don't know if that was the first year. I think that was the first year they had Michael Riley. It was 2013. Didn't go well. The next year, 2014, they won 12 games. The next year, they won 14 games. They won the Grey Cup. Mm-hmm. Like in the end, this might be a rough year. I still don't think so, but this might be a rough year. But with the way Ed is and the history of him in the past, like that's fine. Next year, also they could expect that little growth there. So, Elks, Bombers tomorrow.
Quick mentions. Aaron Rodgers said he's retiring in a year, so we'll see if that happens.
Finally.
He seemed pretty passionate. Another thing is Trev's stash needs to go. He has a 1 week deadline before I give him a talking
You're
to
coming
again.
in with some razor and some
Yeah, I will.
clippers to get
I'm
that
trying to help
push
the
going.
boy, okay?
Yeah.
Shane Gillis is to host the ESPYs on July 16th. That will be very funny. He's going to be good
He
and
is funny.
savage.
He is
Yeah.
funny, yeah.
What else, Jazzy?
Durant averages 25 points a game. Let's see what happens with Houston. I don't think Phoenix Suns had the best deal out of that. What do you think? Maybe the draft picks might help. They got some physicality.
They have 4 million shooting guards and they don't have anything else. So they're going to have to figure out their roster. I think this makes the Rockets a contender now because they had a really good roster.
Absolutely.
And now you had KD, who's just very efficient with what he does, right? So he's like a walking 20, 25 points. But it'll be interesting to see what it does for them. I don't think there's enough, to my further point earlier, to beat the OKC Thunder.
Yeah, fair enough.
I did just quickly before we wrap up want to get to this
the Lakers.
from David Pagnotta. They got new ownership and they're going to spend money on it. They've got legit money. I'm just going to go into part of this because it's just talking about cap space, but the Oilers still working on an extension for Trent Frederick. He says, this David Pagnotta, fourth period, Hello Hockey Insider, 10 o'clock Saturdays, not done, but on track to approximately 3.75 by 8.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit of those cap savings, not the 4 that has mostly been reported, but
That's a more palatable number.
Yeah.
250,000. It's like that may help you in some way, shape, or form. Any money is a little bit different. Is that a specific woe?
No, I saw Dusty's tweet. We are live on the BP's TVs right now.
Yes.
Oh,
Hello.
Hey.
I don't know if the sound's on, but it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
That's
Pierogi
amazing.
pizza is bomb.
Lock Shop coming up next. Dusty live at the BP's Capilano at noon. It is Oil Stream. Tommy will be there with Dusty for the Oil Stream at BP's Capilano. We got EST afternoons with Hernan and Gager. We've got the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne from 3 until 6. So a lot more coverage on the Edmonton Oilers with their trade of Evander Kane to the Vancouver Canucks. Thank you for tuning into the EST Hangout presented by Sentinel Storage. On behalf of Belzy, Jasmine, Tommy, Benny, I am Matt. Thanks for tuning into the Hangout. Up next, Lock Shop right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton Sports, presented by Play Alberta. Dusty coming up in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Let's go. There you go, right in front of the camera.
First-time guest, long-time listener, fan of the original draft commissioner.
Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer. The difference is clear. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Zola with here. Joining us today,